Hey Blasters, and welcome to the Blaston Championships of 2022. Want to showcase your skills in the futuristic duels of Blaston? Well, it's time to put those dodging skills to the test and go head to head with the top players in the Blaston Championships. But first, sit back and relax as we take you through how it will all go down. The Blaston Championship consists of 3 phases: point gathering, last chance qualifiers, and the Blaston Championship finals. Phase 1 starts this August, where you'll be able to participate in the championships just by playing the game. Players who play the ranked mode between August and September and place in the top 100 on the seasonal leaderboard will receive championship points to earn their spot in the finals. But that's not all. Each week from Tuesday to Thursday, we'll be hosting an in-game Blaston challenge where you can gather even more championship points. Here you enter by using your blasts and battle others to rack up as many wins as you can before you get 5 losses. The player with the most victories wins the challenge. Each week we'll switch out the game mode in the Blast Zone challenge, starting with the seasonal mode Quick Draw, Arctic Blast, and then Street Brawl. So even if you don't have time to grind out those seasonal ranks, you can still join in on the action and earn championship points. We'll be offering other ways to earn championship points as well, introducing community events as sanctioned tournaments to help you raise your championship score. At the end of September, the players in North America and Europe with the most points will qualify for the Blaston Championship finals. Before we get to the final phase, however, let's take a look at the second one. Players who didn't make it to the finals with their championship points will have another chance to make it to the big show with the last chance qualifier. This tournament is divided into North American and European showdowns, with players competing in a double elimination bracket over the course of October. The top players will earn a slot at the Blaston Championship Finals, taking place in November, where they'll fight for $10,000 and the chance to become
the champion of their region.
Streamed on Twitch with a professional broadcast, we'll showcase all of the matches in the Blaston Championship Finals weekend.
Here comes the full setup, the full attack, the Super Majestic from both sides. Again, it's the Double Viper. 3, 2, who's gonna take it?
Hope that you're excited to compete in the first ever Blaston Championship. We wish you good luck and may the best blaster win.
Sober up and the feeling has changed and I gotta go home. You follow me through my heart into...
Welcome everybody to the Blaston Season 1 Championships, Day 2 out of 4. My name's Nightfire with 2 E's. I'm joined by my co-casters, Dr. Oolong, and the very short, currently, Captain Fabulous. We need them to sit up more in their in their shot. There we go.
We're in vertical frames like that.
But we have an exciting day of matches here this afternoon. It is the back half of the bracket of the championship, and not necessarily even the back half, right? Kind of the middle, round 2, if you will. Our first chance at some losers bracket rounds and our first chance at some winners bracket rounds. And obviously, Captain Fabulous, I'll start with you. You're going to be playing in some of those winner bracket rounds. How are you feeling for today? Are you excited for the matchups coming up ahead of you?
Oh, I'm really excited to see some of these matches. My top pick today is probably Monty Ban versus Kronstar. I think that's going to be a very fun one to watch. With regards to my match, I'm feeling no pressure at all because I don't think anyone watching expects me to win. So best I can do is take a round. Easy.
Yeah, it's going to be a big test for sure as we do get into the top of the top, the best of the best sort of playing. Obviously, going up against 24 is going to be a challenge. Oolong, I mean, there's going to be some great games here this afternoon. We're going to start with a match we didn't get to play yesterday, Triotrix and Bots. But I mean, outside of that, what are your expectations for today? Are we going to see more 3-0s or are we going to get into some 3-2s?
Well, I think we were talking about it a little bit before we actually jumped on the stream, but the most interesting part of yesterday is what we didn't see. We didn't see a lot of bullet hell. We didn't see a lot of slow builds that chip over your opponent over a course of time. We saw a lot of really quick builds, a lot of, like you said, 3-0s, a lot of rounds going out in under a minute. So I would expect to see more of that, but as we slowly build a higher and higher into the skill levels, to eventually go back to seeing some of those bullet hell builds. So I guess we'll just have to see with this next match. This was one of the matches I was really excited to see yesterday, so I'm glad we're getting to see it today.
Yeah, it is going to be the first one we kick off with. Again, Triotrix versus Bot, and it looks like they're in lobby ready to go already. So we're going to go ahead and give them the go-ahead to start. And unfortunately, I currently don't see the UI. I will once they start the round, so we don't know what those loadouts are just yet. But, I mean, yeah, this is going to be kind of a...
Very fancy avatars.
Yeah, do like to see those. Do like
Very
to see those
fancy.
avatars, for sure. Say that again, Cap?
I was just saying he was reaching out for a fist bump and Pink wasn't giving it to him.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
There we go.
I
There
don't
we go.
think was quite ready yet, but now we are good to go. There are your loadouts on display on the bottom, and I actually have the names swapped. So as we get into it, I'll swap the names, but round one is kicking off right now, and Aluma starts things off.
Yep, seeing a lot more of that Luma. We're also seeing the Health Nova from Triotrix, so trying to stop some of the aggression we saw yesterday, and sadly, that Aegis Shield is not going to be enough to take them out. And that the nade going into those Novas. All sacrifices to our Nova Kings, but Bot manages to get 2 of those Viper shots off. One of them managing to land.
Yeah, the Health Nova definitely going to be, we're testing to see how effective it is against this Viper build, but Triotrix has suffered some big hits early, and we're not even into, well, we're now into the first 45 seconds, so we'll have to see what this kind of attack looks like coming in from Bot. One more Viper shot, and it is going to be the round, but none of those connect. And unlike what we saw yesterday, we don't see that double Viper sort of threat necessarily from Bot.
Yeah, and Bot honestly having to spend a lot of resources on those Novas, but you know, I obviously in his eyes it's worth it. It's better than taking 20 damage or being forced into a position where you might take even more.
Tried to zone Trio into the corner there with the shots from their hammer, but couldn't quite get them tucked in, and everything being dodged.
Even using the nade to try and get rid of those Novas. He's getting a little bit desperate.
Yeah. They certainly are eating up quite a bit of resources. The Wildcats step up. None of that connects as they have to dodge the Hurricane themselves. On the balance of survival and keeping that offensive pressure forward. Good dodge there from Bot to completely avoid that. But again, 2 hammers invested in getting rid of those Health Novas, and good dodging from the Luma too.
Yeah. And Bot has spent so many resources just trying to get rid of those Novas. He's having a hard time finishing Trio off there. There's a little bit of damage. And Bot's going to go ahead and take round 1.
It was well played by Bot to clutch out the round there, but I really think that Triotrix has won the loadout selection war.
Yeah.
Bot has to invest a Hammer Ellipse and a Hammer or an Aegis Shield.
And the Aegis. And the Aegis Shield.
Aegis.
So, I mean, that's an additional 3 seconds on what he's using to try and get rid of those nades. Or
Trio
the Novas.
On the Viper, really. And if he can avoid the Viper, then it should be a game.
Ooh. Focuses a little bit too much on the Novas, not enough on the rest of the damage coming his way. Takes a good chunk on top of Aluma.
Yeah, and those Health Novas really disrupting any sort of Viper effort. Obviously, you can't shoot that Viper through, and Axe gets hit by the Hurricane. Again, those Hurricanes really devastating Bot's HP here. The Luma being fully dodged again nicely by Bot, but still, you know, once they're distracted by trying to put on that offensive power, we do see Triotrix kind of capitalizing with these Hurricane shots that come floating into the back half of the zone.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And again, you know, Bot is essentially spending more of his cooldown on those Novas than Triotrix is. And it's slowing down the rest of his build. And so all these little pieces of chip damage, the Raptor Ellipse, the Hurricane, you know, Fast Fall Hurricane doing a little bit more damage too. It's all hurting just a little bit more than it normally would.
Yeah, the Health Novas here doing a nice job of shutting down some of those hammer rounds, denying a little bit of the bullet hell. The Aegis Shield there does catch a Nova or 2. They still do have to dodge that one just up above them, but they do manage to avoid the full spread. Even the Raptor Ellipses coming in there from Trio. So a nice round here from Bot to stay in this, not necessarily give up. Good Frostbite dodge, has to avoid the Hurricanes. The Luma, a lot getting thrown at them here, but they are doing a good job of doing of avoiding it.
Yeah, they've stayed on just a... I talked too soon.
Yep.
They stayed on a sliver of health for quite a long time there.
I think Trio's improved since the end of the VRML season. He's using his weapons appropriately. He's not grabbing them up and picking up whenever he can. You can see he's waiting for them to respawn and focusing on dodging. I think this is. Honestly, I.
Ooh,
assumed
there
that
we go.
Bot was gonna win
Getting
this,
one of
and
those
so-
Viper shots off.
Yeah, nice job to connect there finally, and Trio getting hit big. Bot one last round off of hitting those Viper shots early as well, and so we'll see if they can string something together here as the Health Novas come in for a wall. There's
There we go.
a good Aegis Shield. They've been trying to shut down two for one for a while and just haven't been able to put it together, but now they are in here with the setup, and look at that with
there
the
we go.
space in front of
Another
them.
Viper shot. Yeah, he was really trying, and honestly, he just didn't get enough damage when they were right on the start of the field. But since Triatrix had to block all that bullet hell with the Novas, it left him rather weak, and he was able to get it through with just one of those shields. Efficient trading with the Novas is really important, especially with Health Nova. Either that or just completely ignoring it.
Yep. Hammer nade there doesn't go to good use, but another Viper does connect, and Bot takes game number 1 off of a couple of rounds there, and we are going into a loadout swap, so it seems.
Yep. I honestly, I don't expect for Triatrix to take off that Health Nova, but there's a good chance that he might. It was doing really well for him when Bot was paying attention to him, but I think that Bot also learned that if he's spending 10 seconds worth of cooldown on a 7-second weapon like the Nova, he's actually going to be, hurting his build more than he's helping his current position.
I think Bot it will take out that hammer attachment free and switch it to a collision hammer. And I would be surprised if he doesn't pick up Double Viper. Because Double Viper's strong now, and Bot is a strong Double Viper player. He has been in the past, and he surely is now.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially with the recent buffs to Double Viper, you see a lot of people playing it. But do you think that Double Viper is going to be as effective into this Nova matchup?
If he has collision hammer, yeah. Because he just saves collision hammer to take out to the HP Novas. Yeah. But I think the ultimate thing that he has to do is bring collision hammer.
Collision Hammer's a hard sell too, only doing 2 damage versus I think 4 damage per pellet. So even if it manages, I see Charge Hammer being run a lot of the time, but especially after the recent, I think they nerfed the number of projectiles in it. The effective collision of Charge Hammer is not nearly what it used to be.
Just waiting on that lobby remake, and we'll be getting back into it. Apologize for the delays between the rounds, but it is how it is sometimes.
We gotta keep things fair.
Yep.
Don't worry, this is still faster than usual. But yeah, I think it's very interesting too. And again, stuff that we were kind of talking about. Health Nova, a lot of people have been complaining, partially because weapons, a refresh from yesterday, weapons that do a lot of damage usually won't do a lot of collision. Collision and Blaston being the damage to other projectiles. So, stuff like the Double Viper, stuff like the Luma. Luma's a little bit of an exception because I believe it actually does the same collision and actual health damage. A lot of those weapons that do high damage, not doing very high collision whatsoever, and thus trying to take out a Nova with something like a Viper is usually fairly difficult. So he's either going to have to play around them or choose a build that is going to help him push right through those Novas, like with the Collision Hammer.
Luma should do more collision damage than health damage because it eats nades. So
you've seen interesting loadout swaps coming in here from Trio and Bot. Trio no longer taking that Health Nova, and Bot taking the Double Viper. And so I wonder if the lack of Health Nova here in the Double Viper may be more advantageous for Bot or Trio. But out the gate, Trio certainly doing a nice job of opening things up with a little bit of damage, a little chip away there, but they still haven't had to yeah, here comes the Double Viper. Can they dodge the Double Viper is the question of the day. And there's one.
Double Viper, no Luma, but Double Viper for sure. And yeah, calling out the removal of the Health Nova. Definitely interesting, especially considering it was getting Triatrix some ground. But again, if they're getting rid of the Novas either way, it's really not doing that much for you other than stalling your opponent's build.
Well, I think it's because Trio just assumed he would go collision hammer.
Ooh, another Viper connecting there, and another one out. The Double Viper attack coming in, and Trio getting slammed. This seems to be the right move for Bot, and maybe Trio regretting not having that Health Nova to sort of help in this situation right there as the bullet hell ends up getting.
I know I certainly would want to have Nova in this situation.
Oops, against collision hammer. It would just waste your CD. He shouldn't have, like, against a collision hammer, it wouldn't help him here. Because
Yeah, but against double Viper, I'd still take my odds.
Okay. Disagree.
Apologies for missing that last round. I know people yelling. Relax. It's fine. Rounds are back. We're into it. The first one went handily to bot. We'll have to see if bot can land the double Vipers again.
Oh, nice catch there from Triotrix as that nade comes out. Oh no, he drops it! Tries to drop block and just ends up dropping.
Oh, the
Ooh,
frostbite
and that.
connects. Big damage there in the double Viper. Yeah, here it comes. One lands dead center, and Trio getting hit there. Bot takes back the lead. The chip damage that Trio is putting out here isn't quite enough. The Luma needs to connect, and it does. That's a big chunk. The hammer nade comes back at Triotrix, though, and we're into the first minute. I think one of our longer rounds in this battle as Bot does take big damage.
Yeah, and honestly, that frostbite might be one of Triotrix's best ways of dealing with the aggression that comes with this double Viper combo. That and the Luma.
A few seconds left here for either. Yeah, barely any HP, a sliver left. One Viper away from connecting, and that would have been the round. And you can see Bot tries to reach up, and surprising, the Raptor Ellipse connects with Bot, and they go out on that round. Trio taking a breather, it seems, and trying to get a little fist bump in there before the next round, but no time. Have to get back into the podium.
All the way over to his podium, showing off that play space.
Yeah.
And you can actually see Bot 2 doing a good job of baiting out the nades, really making sure that it's not targeting where he wants to be.
I would say we should all also be ready for a bot podium judge. I reckon he'll do it at least once.
I'm sure we'll see it in a game 3. I don't know if he'll risk it, although if things look bad, he might.
Double Viper coming in there.
He's up 2 games, just to show it.
Fully dodged, a good Aegis shield down to the floor though, and the Wildcat does connect. Trial able to force Bot down, and Bot hasn't found any success with those double Vipers this round, so you see the difference in HP when none of those Vipers are connecting. It's a big portion of Bot's damage potential, and well, that's all it takes to get back into things. A couple of shots from the hammer nades, and a couple of Vipers do connect. Bot is closer to be in this, but some big damage there from Trial to continue to maintain the lead.
And you can see Trio continuing to bring out that frostbite. Just that little bit of blind is enough to dissuade aggression from Bot, since he might not know what he's actually going up against.
Ooh, good denial of that hammer nade there. Bot
he keeps having to throw it real close in order to even have a chance of landing it. Sadly.
Oh, avoids the Lumas, avoids the Hurricane, and connects with a Viper. They take the second game.
That was great dodging right there at the end. Really got around all of Triotrix's bullet hell he was able to put on the field.
Wonder if we are going to not just go right back into it for another round. No loadout swaps. Certainly the best. Go ahead, Cap.
Okay. Just going to say, I think, I got that wrong, obviously. But I think Trio recognizes that, Bot has a collision hammer in his loadout. And going back to HP Nova is not going to help him as much. I think Trio's done a really, really good job of weapon pick strategy during this entire game. And he's really put himself in the best place position to get ahead. I suppose what's going to happen now is going to be a prisoner's dilemma between the two for whether Bot brings back Collision Hammer, and conversely, whether Trio brings back HP Nova. Because if Bot doesn't bring Collision Hammer, HP Nova is really going to put Bot in a bad position. But if he does bring Collision Hammer, then it kind of nullifies that effect. So I think Trio should bring HP Nova, to be honest. Going back and hope that Bot makes the switch.
We'll have to see. All the mental mind games that go in and what these players are comfortable with. So let's see what they end up going into. But we do have our next lobby ready to go, and we should be hopping into our next game soon enough here. So
I think
So
at the end of the
far-
day,
Go ahead.
you know, just dodge. Just dodge. It's easy. Against Double Viper especially, just dodge. What are you waiting for? You know? So, you know, as much as, yeah, absolutely, the counter pick and the counter pick to the counter pick and the mind games. I mean, Triotrix is getting ahead in these rounds. He's getting bought all the way down to the red. He just needs to make sure he doesn't get hit with 3, 4, 5 Viper shots right at the end of the round.
I am wearing my Just Dodge shorts.
There you go.
So fully on board with that strategy.
Represent the Just Dodge community.
But really, I mean, the way in which you counter Double Viper is you stay at the back of your podium. So perhaps, bringing a Raptor just to make sure that bot can't bring a Hurricane and put pressure on the back of the podium to make him move forward that way, and just hold the line at the back. Whenever he was getting hit by these Vipers, is when he was trying to move up to the front of his podium to put on an aggressive show of force and try and get a few points on bot. But that doesn't actually seem to be that worth it.
Yeah, it's we'll have to see again what we get here. We're just waiting for these rounds in between action. We can only talk so much about these loadouts. There's only so much
I don't know
you can
about
do.
you. I can talk about it all day. I
Watch
think
us.
again, I said it lots of times during the game, but that frostbite, both for its speed at the front of the podium and also, obviously the fact that it blinds. I think that's probably the best, weapon to be using against this aggression, especially because on 2 seconds he can pretty much use it whenever he wants. But again, like Cap said, anytime he even takes a step forward to the front of his podium, it's a risk because Double Vipers could do half of his health bar, if not more, in just a split second. And also, if he sits at the back of his podium, well, then he does put himself at risk for bullet hell, since usually those clamps are targeting the back of the podium. So, really, it's this decision of where if he steps forward, he's not going to be in a good spot. If he steps backward, he's not going to be in a good spot. So either way, he's really got to learn to pick one and pick a build that excels back there.
Yeah, against that, let's just talk about the build while we're right. Against that type of build, though, I do like Illuma, because Illuma's pretty lethal at the back of your podium. The difference between Vipers shot from the back and the front of your podium is night and day, but the difference between an Illuma shot from the back and the front, I think it's a bit easier to hit than, the difference between those two. And also a Hurricane, especially slow Hurricane. And the reasoning there is when people are trying to set up bullet hell and trying to go forwards, just having bullets come down from the top, having a Luma, it's great counter pressure. And if you wait for that clamp to start and then put the Hurricane up just as that happening, while you're dodging, their eventual follow up, they also are going to have to be dodging these Hurricanes coming from the sky, put pressure on them, and either they're going to be hit by them and take an awful lot of damage. Now that Hurricane does a lot of damage, especially the first attachment. Or they are going to dodge out of the way and probably have less accurate follow-up on you. Big fan of
and a good factor of that too is, the fact that the Luma obviously doesn't have a long barrel. Both the Viper and Viper Ellipse have fairly long barrels, so at the front of your podium, you can really, stick the barrel of your weapon pretty much to the tip of your opponent's podium. With the Luma, obviously, you're not getting that option, so taking an additional step and a half back isn't the biggest deal in the world at all, but I do believe we are loading in, so we'll be able to talk about these loadouts right now. Ooh, and we are seeing the return of Damaged Lance. That is actually an option for shutting down that aggression that we didn't really get a chance to talk about. Didn't really come on my radar.
Trio brought HP Nova, predicting bots wouldn't bring the collision hammer again.
And he was right.
I was also right before when I said that bot should go collision hammer Double Viper. I'm just calling this today.
You should play the lottery.
I should play Blaston,
You should play Blaston. All right, it looks like we're getting right into it. And bot is going back to old habits already, using that shield to try and take out as much of the health of those health Novas as physically possible. And bringing in those double Vipers without a solid option. Well, I mean, I say solid option, but no matter what, when you're playing double hammer, those double shotguns are going to do a lot of collision. Even if it doesn't do as much collision as an option that specifically is made to do more collision.
It's interesting Trio took out the Luma, though, in favor of a Viper E.
Yeah, I like the Luma. That curve is just so hard to hit. And we've seen that too, of a lot of players choosing to run the straight Luma rather than even take the risk. Okay.
Nice little bit of damage
Ooh,
there.
Bot just sliding across the ground. So graceful.
Viper Ellipse does connect, and big chunks of damage laid out onto Trio there. The hammer nade does not go off, I think, as anticipated there. A little bit too late on the toss out, and more attacks coming in. Again, trying to throw off the opponent by sort of misdirecting the barrel of that Ellipse Viper, and even the regular Viper. But Trio doing a good job of a bit of dodge work there. And I don't know what they're chatting about now.
He's trying to trick him into thinking he doesn't have a shot left.
You can see if you look at the barrel of the gun.
Yeah.
I think both players will know.
Yeah. Ooh, the lance coming in doesn't end up connecting onto bot. And if
Okay, that
anything,
nade is going to land. Oh, that
Yeah.
was excellent positioning there from bot from that last nade, almost directly behind Triotrix.
That's where you want it. Very well placed nade. You're absolutely right. I like Trio's loadout though. I think Trio every single time has won the loadout war.
I'm telling you, man, just dodge.
Oh.
Ooh, see?
Another Viper Ellipse connecting around the Novas. The Nova's not necessarily doing as much work as Trio is maybe hoping here in this series, and if they can't take a round, it's going to be the game to bot and Trio moving down into that losers bracket, where we'll likely see them play later today in that matchup, that elimination round, but we're not quite there yet. We are halfway there, I suppose, as Trio's health is down to half HP, and, well, make it none.
I think Lance was a really nice idea from Trio, but I noticed he was firing it a bit too early before the Novas were hitting the podium, so there was nothing that was forcing bot to be dodging into those lasers or dodging out the way of them into something else. But well played from both players. I think Trio really put on a show that I don't want to suggest that we weren't expecting it, but I think bot was heavily the favorite going into this game. And
So Cap,
Very
here's
cool.
my ultimate question to you. Even without the collision, Bot seemed to be doing perfectly fine. And I think that's mostly because Bot was really willing to spend resources in order to get rid of the Health Nova, right? Aga Shield followed up with the Hammer Ellipse, and the Hammer Ellipse, you know, taking some of the projectiles to get rid of the Nova, but still had some projectiles left over. Which brings me to my point. You're a big fan of the Collision Hammer. Compared to the Charge Hammer, do you think it's worth the detraction and damage and utility for that extra collision, even in these sorts of matchups?
Well, so I understand there's a change in damage. That is true. But when we talk about utility, the utility of the Charge Hammer and the Hammer is just podium denial, really. Okay? It's not often you do a lot. I mean, unless you run to the front and just land a very close-up hammer shot. That's quite rare. Typically, it's used in conjunction with other weapons where you just kind of block out an array of their podium with a bunch of pellets. And a collision hammer, I think, does pretty much a fairly equal job of that of the charge hammer in doing that. The only real difference, in my opinion, is the damage done to the person, but I would never really take hammer as a damage-dealing weapon outside old Quicksilver build.
Now, the other thing I'm thinking about with this too, with the Charge Hammer specifically, and we didn't see a lot of it today, but yesterday, a lot of people who brought the Collision Hammer were trying to use it to take out nades, and because it was still slow and has that spread, seemed much harder to be able to take out a nade with the Collision Hammer versus the Charge Hammer. So other than hitting people at the front of the podium, that's the one other piece of utility I could potentially see from the Charge Hammer. What do you think?
That is true. That is true. What I would say though is I'm a big fan of Collision Hammer just because of HP Nova. You know, HP Nova is not a dominant force. I don't care about Collision Hammer anymore. And as soon as HP Nova is an option that you're worried about, you know, Tim didn't bring HP Nova once in my games against him yesterday, but I bought Collision Hammer every single time because of HP Nova. That's the only reason it was in my build. I was scared of it. But I think, you know, I think honestly, what what you can do when you're going against HP Nova, you don't have a collision hammer and you've got Hammer E, is actually a good trade with HP Nova. It's 6 seconds to 7 seconds. You can just put one Hammer E into each HP Nova. It just depends if you're relying on that Hammer E for setup.
Right. And I think that it is valuable having the Hammer Ellipse for setup, even in, or honestly, especially with the reduction in cooldown on double Viper. Running double, you used to run Hammer Ellipse, Viper Ellipse, and then, maybe like a Luma on the 4-second or a Tundra on the 4-second. And now that fits a lot more cleanly into the, the sort of model of builds where you go 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. And, of course, obstructing view too. A lot of pellets on the screen is going to distract your opponent. And if they're focused on dodging, finding a little hole through all the bullet hell that you're putting forward to them, they're not paying attention to a Viper bullet that might be coming from, a sporadically placed Viper on the front of the podium.
We do have our next matchup lined up here. Arbo and Shermie coming at you in just a few moments. The loadout's on display here, and outside of maybe a Majestic nade, nothing too really out of the ordinary for either of these two. Curious to see how that Majestic comes into effect. Obviously tries the zone, but we've also seen it used for shot blocking.
Yeah, and we're seeing Shermie go with the curve Luma, and we're seeing Arbo decide to stay on that normal Luma. Hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And a lot of players don't see the need, and especially with a weapon that's kind of hard to use, like the curve Luma, really overcomplicating the build if they can help it. I think Arbo too usually runs that straight, right?
But with Arbo, it's a bit different because before he came into Blaston, he used to play lots of bow games on VR. So he just has this muscle memory, he was telling me. So he's not going to go he just wants to shoot as fast as he can with the normal Luma.
Do you think that he can curve the bow in real life?
I think he can, but I don't think he'd be anywhere near as good as he is with straight Luma. I think a lot of the top curve Luma players wouldn't be as good with curve Luma as he is with straight Luma. He is a force with that. He can just take off 60 health out of nowhere because he shoots it so fast.
Yeah. Into the action we go as round one kicks off. A good denial of the Hurricane as the Aegis Shield comes out, shutting down that sort of setup there. And the Luma, the straight Luma, we did see used to good effect yesterday, really. Almost maybe throwing off players by not having the curve, something else having to dodge. But either way, a little bit of bullet hell exchange here, and Arbos and Shermie take a bit of that damage. Again, the Aegis Shield coming up, and ooh, it looks like that Majestic nade caught a hand there. Yeah, it really does look like, too. The curve Luma is paying off for Shermie. They've practiced it pretty much all season. Oh no, they dropped their weapon. They're pretty much practicing it all season. So, again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And you haven't gotten practice with it, now's not the time to be trying out new things. No kidding. But yeah, I have some, I've seen a lot of potentially good shots get ruined by the curve. So that's something to take into account here that, it might actually help Arbo a little bit. It's a little faster too, right? Good counter pressure on. It's a little faster too, right? Without the curve. Yeah, I think it's a little bit faster without the curve. It's not officially in the weapon stats, but just due to the distance that projectiles take. Woof, and there we go. Shermie going ahead and wrapping up that round quick with the Raptor Ellipse Wildcat combo that we see a lot nowadays as well. Into round two we go. The bullet hell spread coming out. The hammer nade up top. That slow roll, and it does a good job of zoning Shermie into that hammer spread. They don't take any of the Lumas, so it's just chip damage, but damage nonetheless. And again, we see that Aegis Shield shutting down the Hurricane. Shermie trying to step up and capitalize off of the lack of that shield. Connects with the Wildcat a little bit, but it is just a little bit of damage. Ooh, wow. That was a nice step forward and drawing the bow at the same time. Oh, same goes for Arbos as they step up and tag Shermie dead center. Good job zoning with that Majestic nade. Again, that Majestic nade really seeming to come in for the zoning purpose more than, because I guess you don't have any Viper to really be blocking the shots from, right? Right, exactly. Ooh, Arbo's stepping out of bounds and taking a good chunk of damage. You hate to see it, really. You always hate to see it no matter what. I mean, it's really interesting.
it's sorry, you know
No, go
what?
ahead.
We're gonna wait till after the round, and then I can talk all I want about the nerdiness of the weapons.
Yeah, I almost
It's
do
too close.
wonder if it's not part of the strategy to try and push them out of the zone. Shermie almost gets downed by the Luma, just a sliver of health. One bullet away from connecting, and there it is. Arbos takes the round. We're tied around apiece.
Yeah, and you know, that slow hammer nade is actually worth talking about because a lot of people have switched to the additional spread hammer nade that does do a little bit more damage as well. But Arbo is sort of using it to section off the back end of Shermie's play area, forcing him forward into the loop. So I think that's actually a really good strategy.
Big Luma's hitting there. Shermie taking big chunks early, and we'll have to see if they can get the bullet hell setup they need to thread that Luma through. And it looks like the Wildcat actually going to be the one to do most of the work in that initial push. The Luma just sitting on the back foot. They're going to have to dodge this attack, and they don't manage to do that too well. A lot of bullets connecting there, and Arbos takes the game. Yeah,
You could not have asked for a better bullet hell setup there. That was beautiful.
Well, Arbo's
What happened there?
very good at doing this. I don't think we're going to see any loadout swaps this game at all. I think both players have bought what they're going to play for the whole game. I think Arbo does show that he's very strong with this Luma, and the rest of his build is just dedicated about making Shermie dodge a big wave of bullets and bullet hell. This is a bullet hell build. We've complained that we haven't seen them, so Arbo's showing us that they still work. And then following up with that Luma when you're trying to weave your way through a mountain of bullets. And showing it's still got a very effective place in this meta.
Right back in to game number 2. Like Kev said, no loadout swaps, and the Hurricanes are coming in. One does hit the shoulder of Arbos, but look at the attack onto Shermie.
Oh no. We're only like 17 seconds in.
Yeah.
Shermie's health bar is already gone. What happened?
It was interesting, too.
I mean, hey, you know, another thing to mention, too, is the fact that we are in loser's bracket right now. So whoever loses this set is going to be going home.
Yeah, the pressure, definitely a factor here for these players. Your season going to be over at the end of this series, you know, and that's definitely got to be a factor. I was going to say, it was looking so good for Shermie at the start. They had such a good round 1, but it's really been since then that they have not had a good opening, and Arbos has just been blasting away on Shermie's HP with these big early starts. We'll see if they can do it again, or if Shermie can get a little bit more success in dodging this.
Yeah, and Shermie is giving Arbo all the space they need to do the full setup, and then Arbo can just kind of sit back with that Cortex shield and defend against anything that Shermie throws out.
Yeah, it's a tough matchup here for Shermie, it seems. And again, like you said, Arbo's just really playing it well to the point. I think Arbo's doing a really great job of utilizing their tools to really they're setting up the zoning and then hitting with the Luma. It's a consistent attack pattern every time, and it's working for them, at least for the most part, as Shermie does chip a little bit of damage onto Arbos, but not enough to really get back into this. Oh, there's a Luma that connects, just a raw one too.
Oh, nice catch there. That's going to do. Ooh, but he takes a lot of Hurricanes in the meantime. Ooh.
Connects with
like
almost
Cap said, even with that collision hammer choice doing less damage, it's still a solid chunk when it lands.
Yeah, it really is, and you can, he hit with that almost that full hammer. About the same as a Raptor Ellipse bullet connecting is what it ends up looking like. And, oh my! Arbos
very nice, and Arbo with that straight Luma is going to take game 3, right? Game 3?
2.
Yeah. 2. I thought Shermie took a round or a game.
They took a round, just a round, not a game.
Wishful thinking from me.
Yeah, well, I'm sure Shermie is also wishing that right now as they are looking at a game away from being eliminated here, and at least a good start for Shermie. They certainly open up well here to chip away on Arbos and get themselves an early lead in the first 15 seconds. It's been really going the other way for Shermie since that first round, so now maybe they can get things, get their footing back here with a little bit of a lead.
Yeah. Yeah, they really need to
Nice,
be
big.
okay. There we go. The Hurricane is just the MVP at this point. Although Arbo does have the full setup, manages to hit one of those Lumas, but not much else. And now they're gonna have to survive if they want to take this round.
I don't think I've seen an Arc Luma connect from Shermie yet. You know, it's been really those Hurricanes and the Wildcat doing big damage, and they do get back on the board. It was 4 unanswered rounds in a row there by Arbos, and so really, I mean, obviously the biggest round to be won here because this gets them potentially back in it if they can take another.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, we can. Another thing too is that if you're watching Arbo's movement right now, he is getting some squat jumps in. I know we talked a lot about the physicality yesterday, but I am constantly seeing him jump from side to side on his podium in order to dodge the Wildcat Raptor Ellipse combo, and that's gotta be tiring.
Finally, Illuma does connect as Arbos prioritizes their Hurricane denial with the Majestic. The connection comes in there from Shermie, and that Hurricane definitely something that Arbos is very worried about. You know, they have been denying it. When they don't deny it, it ends up connecting and doing big damage.
Oh my goodness.
Cap, we may be getting a break here for you to chime in. I think I would. Oh, well, I guess not. But what are your thoughts, Cap?
When Arbo asked me what he should do for this match, I just said, watch out for the Hurricanes. And that's what's doing him damage. He just needs to make sure he's not getting hit by them. And I think that's the part of the victory.
And I told him, just dodge.
Yeah, great tips coming in from one of you as we get into the action here this afternoon. And again, game number 4 coming through as Shermie suffers a tough start yet again. This looks more akin to the games won by Arbos than the ones lost, as Arbos usually would open up well, but I mean, that's a 1-2, right? A Hurricane and a Luma. That's 30 damage plus coming at you. I think because you said the Hurricanes are actually doing 14 damage or something like that.
Yeah, and I think that Shermie's learned when to be applying that counter pressure, because if Arbo can get the full combo off at once, it doesn't look good. But if Shermie's able to bait out the nade with that little bunny hop like they've been doing, things turn out a lot better for him.
Trade back and forth. Arbo connects with the Luma, but at the cost of taking some big damage there. I wasn't sure if it's the Majestic or another Hurricane shot connecting onto them. And ooh, that was a mistake. The Aegis Shield. I don't know if they meant to throw it like that or not, but they end up tossing it to the ground. And essentially, the Hurricanes and the full bullet spread's there. Yeah, what?
That is the potential with the hammer nade, is that it can actually one hit. Ooh. Shermie, again, kind of doing these little bunny hops to try and bait out the nade, but I don't know if their positioning's any better right now than it was before.
Oh, it popped out of bounds there.
Yeah, they tried to dodge it all, but at what cost?
Yeah.
I mean, 30 damage was still less than what they would have ended up taking from the rest of that combo, so.
Priorities, I guess, but tried to deny the Hurricane with the hammer shot, and they end up stepping into 3. When that Hurricane's there, it hits almost every time, it seems. Arbo's just having a tough time really avoiding that, but to Shermie's credit, they're really doing a good job of zoning them and pushing them into those Hurricane shots when it comes time for their attack, and Shermie gets hit big by that full bullet. Spread the hammer, step forward, one Luma away. No, it doesn't connect. Shermie survives for a few more seconds.
That was still a beautiful setup, though. And I think that the reasoning is that those Hurricanes are forcing Arbo to take his attention away from the setup of his combo, and it is throwing him off.
Just needs a couple of these bullets to hit here to take a round and get back in this, and yeah, there it is. Just needed one, and they got it. But we're tied a round apiece. Shermie's back, and, well, season against the wall here. If they lose this round, Arbos advances on to the next game of the losers bracket, and Shermie is out.
Yeah. Pressure is definitely on, but I think that Shermie knows the path to success. It's just a matter of execution now.
Yeah, they've seen what works, and there's been no loadout swaps, so nothing's changed on what works.
Right,
it's just
exactly.
like you said, making it happen. And so let's see, can they dodge? Can they avoid the bullet spread? The Majestic nade setup nicely done, but good dodging there from Arbos to avoid all the Hurricanes. Doesn't get hit by those, as Shermie tried to push them to the back of the zone into where those Hurricanes would be dropping.
Ooh, another great dodge from Arbo. Shermie's looking low on weapons, if nothing else.
Just has nades in front of them. The Majestic comes
Oh,
out,
no.
but that's it. And does avoid the full bullet spread coming in from Arbos. That would impact them, or was impacting them a lot heavier in the previous rounds. And I guess when things are on the line, you slow down the process a little bit. Try and really make sure that you're going to make the right plays, because Shermie definitely doing a good job of avoiding that bullet spread and trying to get something going here with the Ellipse and the Wildcat.
Yeah, that was a really nice grab from Arbo. That would have been a very dangerous Majestic nade to have out on the field. Arbo's just throwing his hammer nade into the wall of the stage, which it's just wrecking his combo, and it seems like he's kind of using things a little bit more piecemeal rather than waiting for these combos like he should. Ooh, but he is just dodging.
Yeah, he is. They're doing a good job of dodging, and done enough dodging that the health bar is, I mean, it's just a little bit of damage away from Shermie getting back into this and taking game 2. And as I say that, some Hurricanes connect, but Shermie gets hit big in their efforts to avoid the damage. 10 seconds on the clock. They need some big Hurricanes to connect here. A Luma or two, and Shermie instead too far forward in their efforts to step up to their opponent. Cap, a rapid fire series that we didn't get to get your analysis on, but I mean, what are your thoughts on those 4 rounds that just happened? Do I hear them?
Uh-oh.
We've lost them.
He's muted, lads.
No, sorry, that's my microphone. I was eating for anyone to get it on stream. So it's fairly indicative of how I thought it would play out. I think Arbo is just a terror with that bow. His whole setup is around trying to, force you into a horrible situation where you've got to dodge a load of waves, bullets, traditional bullet hell, and you're going to fire 3 Lumas as quickly as possible. Oolong really hit the nail on the head. He threw the hammer into the wall 3 times in a row in the last game. He was kind of doing it all match. So one improvement for Arbo is place your hammer nades a little bit better. I thought Shermie did really well. I think that Shermie has really shown everyone how strong the Hurricane 1 is, because although everyone's playing it now, what we should remember is he's been saying everyone should be playing it for well over a month or so, and none of us really took it seriously. And his point's been proved. So despite not winning, I would like to shout out Shermie as being a very good strategist when it comes to pick selection. And with regards to Arbo, I mean, there's a reason I call him and Peters the upsetters in the EU region, because they are just really, really strong. But you don't really hear about them as much as the other top players like Turbo, Slurry, Tesseract. Arbo's beaten, I think, half those players. So, well played to both. I would say I'm just a little bit scared that Arbo's still in the tournament, because he can definitely take me out. He's so good at this strategy of his.
Yeah, again, hats off to Shermie. They are done with their season and their efforts to climb that postseason ladder. But hey, at least they get a season 1 finalist banner, right? They get something out of this. Okay, it's not all losses at this stage. Okay, they get the prestigious in-game rewards, so something to be happy about. But our next matchup coming up here looks like it's going to be Very Hungry Cat versus Master. Oolong, we just took a look at it a little bit ago. I wish I had the clip to show, but Master took an awful, a rough spill on stream.
Yeah, he took a tumble yesterday. He took a tumble. We had a lightly sprained ankle, but he has said that he is okay. There is no impending lawsuit, and he is looking to really bring it back during today's game. And it seems like he is running the double Viper with the bounce that we've seen so much in this bracket. Also, oh no, I am mistaken. I was gonna say double hammer, but no, it's actually hammer ellipse, raptor ellipse, and then wildcat. And then Very Hungry Cat running that bursting hurricane that we've seen. It didn't really get them too much during their last matchup, but that could change today here in the Losers League.
No, that attachment that we saw getting utilized by Bot just a series ago is the one that's we've seen utilized more and more with 1.18, and so we'll see how the full bullet spread goes. It seems like that's the goal for Hungry Cat here, right? The bullet spread with a Viper threaded in between all those bullets.
Exactly. And Very Hungry Cat, known for sending out really tricky straight Vipers and really just utilizing his timing to really get all the value he can out of that straight Viper.
You just go right into the
First
action
set of
too. I didn't even realize we
First
didn't
set
even.
of the Hurricanes come down. None of them actually managed to land. I don't even know how that was possible. Tries to keep the juggle going, but doesn't quite manage to get it. Ooh!
Oh no. Oh, big damage connecting here onto Master. Viper shots. I think they reached for that hammer and ended up hitting them. And a little bit of that Hurricane spread, tagging them just a touch. The bullet spread here going in. Very Hungry Cat doing a good job of dodging. Very physical. The 360 spin in the space to avoid that nade. And definitely doing a very good job of getting aggression going here for Hungry Cat. But still has some HP to chip away on the Master. And there's still a minute left for Master to come back here with a Viper connection or two.
Yeah, you know, honestly, I think Master was pretty lucky to not have that entire thing pop on his hand. But Very Hungry Cat's being patient here, waiting for Master to get through the whole combo before even picking up their weapons.
A nice nade off of out of the hip pocket there. Master doing a good job of chipping onto Hungry Cat, but ultimately Hungry Cat connects there. What was that at the end? Of Viper or more of the...
Viper. Yeah, straight Viper right on the hand at the very edge of the podium. Again, Very Hungry Cat's just excellent at putting the Viper shot exactly where you don't expect it.
I know they didn't want us to root for them yesterday, but I do remember Captain obviously is having some good words about Hungry Cat's ability with this combo, and so there really is a challenge for Master presented to them here. If they can work themselves up and get some damage done, the bounces go just a touch wide, and ultimately Master does get chipped down just a little bit. The ellipse comes through though, and you can see the celebration after that connecting. They're feeling good, getting the advantage here with all, a full minute and a half left.
Yeah, and honestly, I have seen Hungry Cat connecting with these Hurricanes, and yet it seems like they're only doing 4 damage, 6 damage, really piecemeal compared to the fact that they could be getting 14 damage per hit.
Yeah, I know. It's you gotta wonder if that attachment would have been serving them a little bit better right now up against Master. But they do have a round in the books. It's just right now they are on the back foot with Master connecting with those Vipers. Definitely setting them up here. But Master,
right into it.
Yeah, good. The zoning there from that bullet spread. The onslaught from Hungry Cat gets them right back into this. Both players a Viper shot away from losing it.
Called his bluff right there at the end as he steps forward on his podium.
If there was ever a way to have a Western draw, I think that was it, Cap. I mean, he doesn't get more drawy than that, does it?
Well, I just want to talk about 2 things from that match. One, Hungry Cat, his build is really good because it's really good at punishing aggression. And Master's build is all about aggression. And Hungry Cat's just a really good player who just basically says, if someone goes up to the front of the podium, I'm going to punish them with a quick Viper shot, and that's what we saw. You're right, it's kind of like a Western who shoots first, but Hungry Cat shot first. I would just quickly like to point out something about the Hurricane Attachment 3. That while it's doing less damage, each one of those small pellets does 2 damage a pop. It does have an unexpected benefit that you probably might not realize. In that normal Hurricane, you can hear it coming down below you. It makes a sound, which is an audio cue for you to dodge. Once they're split up into those smaller pellets, they don't make any sound. So it's much more consistent at hitting your opponent because they can't hear it coming. So it's more consistent long-term damage. Although you are right, they could be doing more damage if they're landing this Hurricane 1.
Yeah. Yeah, and to some degree, its numbers don't lie, but I mean, it's those sort of unwritten things that definitely give them a benefit. I mean, is that an intended functionality, or do you think that's more of like a bug?
I think it's just they've coded that the Hurricane cheese balls have an audio cue, and as soon as they go to a smaller one, they no longer have an audio cue. Because if they all have the same audio cue, it would just be white noise. So, I don't know whether it's intentional or not, but that's the way it worked out.
You got a side swap going into our next round, and what are we looking at on the loadouts here?
Triple Viper. We're seeing that Vandal yet again. So for those of you who don't know, Vandal doing all collision damage, 65 collision damage a hit, 0 actual damage, and applying a small radius of blind. So I would imagine that he's picking this in order to try and take out the Hurricane. But, you know, we didn't see it have much success yesterday. We saw some success, but especially when it comes to lots of small pellets, like Very Hungry Cat's going to be pulling out with the hammer ellipse, sometimes it can end up hurting you more than helping you. So hopefully Master 17 went ahead and watched his match yesterday and knows what to work on with that Vandal. And hopefully this is a calculated move here.
See them doing some breathing exercises there, getting ready to jump in to the round. And yeah, we are just earlier seeing from Master that, you know, some complaints about the ankle, so it could be very well impacting their ability to sort of dive around, dodge this full bullet spread, dodge the double Vipers coming in from Hungry Cat, although not anymore, just a single Viper with that well, yeah, that's what they have been running, the single Viper. I forgot we swapped sides, but either way, the bullet spread coming in here on to Master, and some big damage connecting there.
Man, it's like he jumps up to dodge the bullet hell, and then he ends up landing right on top of a Viper bullet. I don't know if that's a testament to Very Hungry Cat's skill, if he's intending for it to be like that, but certainly working out in Hungry Cat's favor.
Here comes the attack. Hungry doing a nice job of dodging that full spread, avoiding the Vipers and the ellipse, but it's a double Viper really that is the threat here. And when both step up to the front line, is who's going to connect against who on that Viper shot. Hungry Cat coming in with the Hurricane. Good denial there of that Hurricane with the Vandal, trying to shut down some of the ability to zone, but Hungry Cat still has a lot of other utility.
Ooh. Oh my gosh, he's got one more shot left.
Oh,
that
hammer
nade pops from behind.
No.
Oh, it does that. It does manage to miss. I thought that was going to be
me
it.
too.
Master. Oh.
I thought the exact same thing. Dodging those
nice
bounce
drop
Vipers.
block.
Yep. Oh, and
there we are.
Hungry Cats chipping away methodically at Master's HP, and eventually, well, they're just now a round away from taking game 2 and pushing us into the series decider. But for now, Master's series isn't on, or Master's season is not on the line just yet. They still have an opportunity to chip away at Hungry Cat, and they certainly are doing that to kick things off. They missed the Hurricane before it detonates, so that Vandal a little less effective than it could be, but still, they do manage to survive that spread and do have the lead here going in to this round.
Ooh, okay, there we go. Managing to land that Viper. He seems to be celebrating a little bit too soon. Oh, okay, maybe not too soon. Maybe not too soon on this. You can see that he's really trying to use that Vandal to take out the Hurricanes and to take out the nades, but that hammer ellipse sort of hiding the rest of the projectiles is actually helping Hungry Cat out a lot here to counter the Vandal.
I think they just dropped their Viper in an effort to swap between their Viper and the Vandal in their hand, and so that maybe threw a little bit of a wrench into the plan for Master, but there's the double Viper coming through, and that ankle doesn't seem to be bothering him too much. They're bouncing around in celebration there, so maybe it's not exactly impacting their performance, but now a round away from seeing if Master can get a game on the board here.
Yep, and I mean, hey, you know what? If you can land those double Vipers, oof, that is going to even things up real quick.
Yeah, no kidding. The bounce Viper connecting to the back there. Good zoning from Master to push them into it, and Hungry Cat really needs to get one of their bullet spread setups going here, but since they've been on the back foot, they really haven't been able to get that full spread. It seems like a little bit more eagerness to get some damage done with what they have in front of them. There's a good bit of dodge work, though. Maybe Hungry Cat able to reset here if they can avoid the double Viper again, and they do. Now comes the attack.
And they're using those Hurricanes straightforward, kind of showing how willing they are to spend some of their tools on more defense here. The tide seemed to have turned a little bit, honestly.
Yeah, it really does. The momentum handily into Master's side now, and really with no loadouts. Oh, I guess the Vandal has come in, so that Vandal clearly doing some good work for Master in shutting down those Hurricanes and potentially any other sort of bullet hell setup that Hungry Cat's looking for.
Yeah. Ooh, okay. He takes a risk there. He uses the Viper before he has the Viper ellipse up. I think the issue here is that Very Hungry Cat's build also sort of depends on having that prime placement on the front of the play area, and between the Vandal being able to shut down the nade and the Hurricanes, and also Master 17 being very dangerous on the front of his podium with double Vipers. Ooh, okay, there we go. Managing to land one. I think that Hungry Cat's having trouble establishing dominance here in this matchup.
Yeah, they just can't get the damage they need, and the Vandals really putting them on the back foot because they just don't have the spread that they did have going into this. And so you can see the Hurricanes getting shot straight at Master instead of up into the air to sort of limit the effectiveness of that Vandal. But then, you know, the Vandal just doesn't come in. And so the attack continues on the Hungry Cat. The time ticks down, and Master takes the round and game number 2. I wonder if we just keep kind of duking it out here, or if we do see another loadout swap. I wonder if Hungry Cat would opt for anything outside of what they have here.
I don't think
I
so.
Go ahead,
But
Cap.
what I would say is that this is very reminiscent of what we saw in the wildcard tournament, where Very Hungry Cat did very well at the start, and then after 17 switched out, bought the Vandal, felt more comfortable with that loadout. Oh wait, no, he lost the first game with Vandal, but nevertheless, after 17 lost against Hungry Cat at the start, got used to his playstyle, maybe got warmed up, and then started just dominating for the rest of the match. So perhaps we could see a repeat of that, or perhaps Hungry Cat's just going to take some Oolong wisdom and just dodge.
Yeah, I think we're getting a little water break here, if I were to be a guessing man. Just a bit of a...
I was made a fool of.
I think the biggest tell towards the end of that match was Hungry Cat starting to fire the Hurricanes forward. I think we are going to see a swap for the Hurricane 1. I'd be almost surprised if we didn't.
That would be a good swap, actually. I would be a big fan of that. Really, what Hungry Cat needs to work on is shooting those Hurricanes up in the air while he's got a Viper, and then just going for the shot on the Viper when Master looks up and starts vandaling up.
Right.
It's quite hard to shoot them blind, and it presents an opportunity to catch someone off guard.
Yeah, and Hungry Cat, very, very, very dangerous with that Viper either way. But I actually, now that you say that, I absolutely agree. They're not really using it with a ton of combos. They're putting down like hammer clamps and then going in with the Viper. But it's not like they have their Wildcat in one hand and the Viper in the other hand, really forcing hard decision. So yeah, using more weapons together, more synchronous combos rather than asynchronous combos.
I think it's because Hungry Cat is used that Viper traditionally for counter pressure, which obviously I'm a huge fan of because I cannot talk enough about how players need to use counter pressure more. But it would be good to have an offensive combo or two he could mix it in there with, just because otherwise Master 17 just needs to work on waiting until it's gone and then following up.
Yeah, but we'll see if Master can keep this momentum going. We do have our stage set up. I'm scanning the items. Very Hungry Cat has kept that Hurricane. Has kept, I think, all of their... No. They've swapped out for a Cortex Shield and a Hammer. I'm not even seeing a Hammer Nade on the build anymore.
No, that's what they've swapped out. I guess they thought that the Hammer Ellipse were getting a bit too much for them, so they need the Cortex Shield. Interesting.
Ooh, all right, a Viper battle to start us off here in game 3.
Either one connecting. Don't get that big damage, and as the Hurricanes come in, the attack comes out from Master. Tries to connect, or excuse me, from Hungry Cat. Tries to connect onto Master, but can't quite. And Hungry Cat suffering big from these Viper shots landing.
Ooh, and it ends up popping the Cortex Shield too. Always great. Ooh, Master ends up taking a little bit of a clamp. Clamp from the bottom of the stage. It's not going to even things up, but it's certainly going to close some of that gap.
Wildcat attack, hammer from the side, bit of dodge work from Hungry Cat keeps them alive, and having to use that Cortex Shield to avoid those Raptor shots coming in. It's a big element that they're trying to dodge, but nice chunks from Hungry Cat get them back in the lead.
See, and that's the thing. He had the positioning with that last shot. I mean, even if you don't fire the last shot in the barrel, the fact that you could is still a risk. But instead, kind of decided to throw it out.
Whoa.
But I guess it doesn't matter much because they are going to go ahead and take round 1.
It's kind of I don't know if it's a surprise to Master when that happens, you know, but they seem to sort of be focusing so hard on the Vandal and the potential, the potential of the Viper, that they're just getting kind of peppered here by these little bits of damage, by these full bullet spread setups. And a Hungry Cat does get hit by one of the opening ellipse shots for Master here.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like that's exactly what Cap was talking about, you know, using more of your weapons at once. Even if the Viper isn't what's stealing all your damage, you can still force the movement into a lot of the other bullet hell that Hungry Cat can put on the field with this build. Ooh, and managing to get a quick little hit there. Not much, 3 damage, still something though.
Yeah, one thing I did see come in from Hungry Cat too is they're trying to deploy the Cortex Shield as a blind almost, and then throwing what Viper shots and bullets behind it, so it, you know, Master really can't see the full setup coming at them, and it hasn't necessarily worked out quite yet. But I do wonder what the plan was there with that side Viper shot off to the edge. Hungry Cat gets hit hard.
Yeah. Yeah, and Hungry Cat sadly getting a taste of his own medicine with the double Viper.
Yeah, it is working well here for Master, keeping them very much in this. The Raptor Ellipse doing a good job of chipping away at Hungry Cat as well. And, you know, that Vandal being utilized well here as the Hurricanes go wide and Master gets pushed to the side. They do get finally hit by a Viper shot.
And he was really trying to end it with the Vandal in the last seconds there, using it primarily for its blind, but now he doesn't have it for the defensive option. Well, actually, now he has it back.
Uh-oh, Hungry Cat jumps into a bounce. And I gotta wonder what's happening here with the Viper shots I keep seeing from Hungry Cat. They go 1-2, and their third one is, the last 4 times, has been off to the side to nowhere land.
I can't explain.
Go ahead, Cat.
I think what's happening here is that
not.
Hungry Cat is just going through their whole combo, especially with the fact that they're actually running, I believe, the Quick Hammer. By the time that it actually is effective, or the second shot goes off from the Viper, most of the actual bullet hell has already passed Master.
Cap, what's your explanation for this Viper shot to the side?
Yeah, you're going to see them a lot from me too. Basically, Hungry Cat, the way he shoots Vipers is he throws out his arm in a huge white arc, kind of like you shoot Viperies, and just tries to time it so it comes out in the middle. It makes it really unpredictable to dodge because it can come off at slight angles. But the risk, sorry, end of the game.
No, that's fine. That's.
But yeah.
I asked. I
The
wanted
risk
to know.
there is that because it's quite unpredictable for your opponent, because you can miss. And so while he does this big wide swing, the idea is you time it perfectly, but it's almost impossible to time perfectly every time. So he misses a few of them. If you see the speed at which he's throwing his arm out there, it just makes it impossible for the opponent to know exactly when it's going to come, when it's going to go. But unfortunately, he's just mistiming them, and that's why it's going to the side. I would also just throw out there while we're watching these two play. A lot of people have been saying that bullet hell is dead. These two are running 2 bullet hell loadouts. Both of these are bullet hell. Just one has a Viper and one has 2 Vipers in it. So bullet hell is alive and well in the meta.
Yeah,
You heard it here first, folks. Any build with more than 1 Viper on it, bullet hell.
Yeah, it's there's.
I do agree, though.
Yeah, no, they are both bullet hell loadouts. You know, hammery.
Nightfire staying away from the controversy.
I was just trying to get a word in, but it's fine. You guys, my opinion doesn't matter. It's yours that matter. You guys know what you're talking about more than I do.
The Cerebus that is the casting couch.
No.
But yeah, I still think that Hungry Cat needs to make a change here, especially now that Master came back from that first round, and now we are, very Hungry Cat is in trouble of being knocked out of the tournament. I don't know what change they need to make. I don't know if they'll step away from that Hurricane 3, but I think either way, Master's almost beating them at their own game here.
I don't think Hurricane 3 is necessarily the problem. What could be a way of going about it is taking out Viper, going more bullet hell, staying at the back of his podium, hiding at the back. That can beat double Viper's tradition. That probably the way I would suggest him going about it, or potentially bring a Viper Ellipse and just go 2 Vipers versus 2 Vipers, meet at the front. Because 1 Viper versus 2, when you're trying to go to the front to put on that damage, firstly, he's not really landing that Viper that much. And if he is trading, he's going to lose the trade more times than not, because Master 17 damage output is double his.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of what we were seeing too, where he tried to punish the aggression, but sadly, with two Vipers beating one, it seems, Very Hungry Cat could also equally get punished for going for that risk. All right, we are loading in now, and I do see the swap to the Hurricane 1 from Very Hungry Cat.
Oh, I like that swap.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see if it is. Ooh, I had
Another name swap.
I had him right. I had him right, and I swapped him wrong.
No swaps though from Master, so they are really sticking to what works. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I put out the personal request to Defour and the dev team that just please allow loadout swaps in lobby, please.
Oh, we've been asking for that for so long.
Please make it happen, because the ability to run events would be exponentially smoother if that were the case. Anyway, I think we're going right into the action. I don't think there's any wait time here as we dive into our next game. Hungry Cat on the left, Master on the right. The score line has to be swapped as Hungry Cat is indeed in the lead. 2-1 here, just a game away from securing this thing and taking themselves up into the next match on that loser's bracket, or no, the winner's bracket. A little bit of a chip damage back and forth here between Hungry and Master, and now Master getting hit big. Popping down, almost down to quarter health, a little bit more damage done, and Hungry Cat's doing a much better job here of chipping away on the Master in this round. Maybe that Hurricane swap forcing a little bit more attention from Master from that Vandal and not really allowing them to set up attacks, but Double Viper comes through, dodge. The Raptor Ellipse does end up forcing them into a Viper shot.
There we go. We're finally seeing Hungry Cat use their weapon synchronously. Using that Hurricane, or using the Hurricane. No, try it again. Let's try this one last time. The hammer and that Viper at the same time rather than spreading them out. I think the other thing too is that Very Hungry Cat is paying a lot more attention to these bounce Vipers. I think he realized how much damage he was truly taking from them in the last couple games, and now he is paying attention, really trying to drop block anything he can.
Good dodge work coming in again from Master to stay alive, and the last little bit of this, just to the point that was made earlier by Cap, we are seeing that when that Vandal comes in for the Hurricane, those Viper shots are coming in from Hungry Cat, trying to catch Master, but Master ends up forcing Hungry to the bottom of the play space and taking a round. I had the scores wrong there. It is 2-1 now, and so Master a round away from taking this and advancing.
Yep. And Hungry Cat one bad round away from potentially being out of the tournament altogether.
Are we in the losers bracket?
Yeah, we're still in the losers bracket.
Okay. Wasn't sure if we had jumped up to a winners bracket round yet, but yeah, elimination rounds here. Definitely the pressure on for both of these players, and despite the ankle, Master doing very good here to really challenge Hungry Cat.
Yeah, and you'd have to wonder too if Hungry Cat, I don't think it would honestly, but Hungry Cat switching to the bounce Viper may have had him get an extra chance to get some of these shots through, especially because it doesn't seem like Master is too worried about drop blocking any of them, and a big one is going to get through and pretty much even up the health bars here.
Ooh, good chunk damage, though. Master trying to prioritize getting rid of the Hurricanes with the Vandal and ends up getting hit by a bunch of shots. And there's the Shield Viper combo that I was talking about earlier. The Shield to block that Viper shot coming in that ends up connecting for big damage. The Shield also does damage, too, when it impacts.
Yeah, Shield does 3 damage. Actually, in a past life, the Shield actually did quite a bit of damage, and people would run builds where they would essentially run 3 shields and just constantly toss them at the opponent. But yeah, definitely, and playing that mind game too. Saw Master trying to finish the round at the front of their podium, and a quick distraction and a quick burst of damage is sometimes all it takes.
First
And you can
30
see Master
seconds.
trying to play some mind games himself.
Yeah. Bit of a slower round start here than what we've seen. Those mind games certainly coming into effect, and the attack almost connected by Hungry Cat, but a good job weathering that full assault from Master. The full bullet spread, the double Viper, the bounce shots coming into the back. They do take one onto the hand, and just like that, Master retakes the lead. It's the danger of the double Viper, as you can be out of it until you're not, suddenly, just like that. With a minute left, it's a lot of time for anything to happen here in this duo.
Yep. Oh, like that, for example. And especially with how slow damage is being dealt to both of these two, that is actually a huge advantage to Master.
Tries to do it again. Tried to block the Viper shot with that shield, and maybe Master getting wise to that combo as they dodge the shield as much as they would dodge a Viper shot, and doing a good job there to avoid that Hurricane with the Vandal and the setup. The Vipers, everything getting avoided here by Master in the back half of this round, and it means a lot because every little bit of damage matters, as now Master has a very slight lead.
Yep, especially with time coming up here in the round. Hungry Cat is going to have to make some moves. They get a little bit of damage, but it's still not going to be enough. They've got to make it happen with the Viper here in the last seconds.
Nope, nothing connects there. A little bit of damage will get Hungry back into this. Just a little bit of chunk damage, and no, Hungry Cat ends up taking it. Master takes the game. They take the series. Hungry Cat and their season is over. And I saw in chat, we can't be losing all of the cats today. It looks like that might be the case. Cap, I mean, an interesting series to tune into for sure, but what are your thoughts on that battle we just witnessed?
My thoughts are I could have gone either way, but I think Master showed that he deserved to go through. I think what's really interesting with Master 17 is that while we don't all agree with the Vandal as a pick, it's such a good set of comfort for him that he just plays better with it when it's in his loadout than perhaps when a better weapon could replace it. That's all for me though, guys, because I am going to go run away with practice for my on-screen murder from 24.
Real fast before you leave, I do have one last question for you. So we saw Hungry Cat pulling out the fast hammer. We've had a lot of talk about the 3 hammer attachments that seem to be going around, but you usually don't see fast hammer on a bullet hell build. Do you think that kind of slowed him down and really reduced the effectiveness of his combo? Or do you think that was, perfectly fine follow-up to 3 clamps and then going in with something a little bit quicker?
I think it's perfectly fine follow-up. Really, the difference is just the timing at which you're shooting the hammer. If you're using charge hammer, you shoot it kind of a few seconds before you shoot the fast hammer. I think it's perfectly reasonable loadout selection, and I couldn't really fault either player for the weapons they chose. Obviously, I have misgivings around the Vandal into the current meta. Although I love the gun, anyone that knows me knows I love that gun to pieces. But he genuinely just plays better when it's in his loadout. So whether that's because it's a better gun and I'm just not realizing that, or whether it's pure comfort from Master 17, I think both players well and played well. I just think that very Hungry Cat loadout and his playstyle, while he does punish aggression, kind of gets a bit overwhelmed by double Vipers in general. So I think it's just some players play a lot better against certain players than others, and that's what we could see today.
Right, yeah, and especially with he had the Cortex shield on there and he started to use it towards the end, but it's such an expensive investment to be making just to block the Vipers, and a lot of it was on bounce too, so yeah. Well, best of luck to you in your upcoming match. We will see you in just a little bit here, and I believe that up next we've got Peters and Trio.
Yeah, should be a exciting matchup. We are waiting for Trio to hop in here. They gave the okay to the code, and so once they're in, we will be in. But hats off to Cap. Good luck to them in their matches coming up. They will be departing us from the desk, and it is just down to me and Oolong for what is going to be a good chunk of games left here this afternoon. I mean, we got, I think, 4 or 5 games left to go But we certainly have had some good ones so far. I'm not a complainer, Ulan. This has been a nice, a good weekend, a good back and forth, and these matches are certainly exciting to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, you know, again, I favor Losers League, the Losers Lounge. I always think that it's where the most fun matches in the tournament happen, especially this round one, where, you know, A, the pressure's on, but B, you know what, you're gonna see a lot of players here who you won't see in the rest of the bracket, which sometimes is really, really nice. So looking at these builds right now, Peter's had actually a ton of success versus Turbo. So him bringing the double Viper, fastball Hurricane, and the curve Luma, this sort of oops all DPS. We're also seeing the return of the drill nade. On Triotrix's side, we're seeing the Health Nova come back out, double Viper again. You know, and we were talking about the vision blocking with the Cortex shield. And the vision blocking is actually also going to play in a little bit here with the Health Nova, especially because, you know, after the last patch, the health of all of the Viper bullets was severely reduced. Using that Nova to essentially protect and escort your bullets across the field actually might be the winning strategy here. Ooh, and there we go. The drill nade being followed up by a Viper Ellipse, leading him right into it.
Oh no!
Oh!
They reached up for the hammer nade, and it detonates in full on their hand. You know, we talk about the danger of trying to redirect grenades. That is it in a nutshell right there. If you don't get it in time, then you literally take the full force of a nade right into your hand, and that is, you know, I think almost your whole HP bar.
Yeah, it is your whole HP bar when you're running the attachment that Triotrix is. So that was actually gigantic plays from him. But Peter seems to be getting it back fairly easily in this round.
Peter's coming into round two with a little bit of a vengeance, trying to bounce back here. They do take a couple of Hurricane shots that do chip themselves down a bit, but Triotrix is a Viper bullet away, a Luma shot away from being out of this round. But the same does kind of go for Peters too with these double Viper battles. You know, no one is out of this out of a series until they are fully out of it. And I was worried about another nade getting popped onto the hand.
I was too. I heard the noise and I was like, oh no, it happened again.
Yeah, fortunate enough that it doesn't come through. But yeah, Trio is managing to bounce back. How are they? Oh man, wow. Peter's really just doing a good job of commanding the start of these rounds, really.
Yeah, and you know, between the Frostbite, the Luma, the Viper, and the Viper Ellipse, Peters is always going to have a substantial threat to be able to throw back at Triotrix. And you can see it right there. Triotrix thinks he's going to be able to get at the front of the podium, and he is just unable to even take a step forward. And Peters is going to go ahead and take game one.
You know, it's every little bit of movement that matters here, and you can see in the replay there, Trio getting hit by one of those Viper Ellipses just on their hand, you know, and that's ultimately what's separating these score lines here. But, you know, one hand movement, right? Especially with the Vipers, you really got to pay attention to all of your, every little movement you make to try and dodge these bullets.
Yeah, absolutely. And although the Nova is blocking a good portion of it, again, Peters is always keeping at least one thing in front of him that can do substantial damage to Triotrix. Ooh, there we go.
What?
Shutting down the aggression. Even the Hurricanes are being used super, super offensively.
Oh, straight Luma.
There we go, landing a Luma too.
A nice straight Luma connects there. And the hammer nade up to the top. I mean, this is really Peters just playing this build very nicely right now. They're really combining everything. The Lumas, the hammer nades, avoiding the Novas, the Hurricanes coming in. It's an overall very solid effort from Peters. And right now, I wonder what Trio's sort of thought process is. What the response? Woo! Maybe it's that. Connect with the bullets.
Yeah, there we go. Two Hurricane shots and a Viper Ellipse shot is going to go ahead and take away half of himself. And yeah, I mean, he's keeping sort of a good tempo. We talk about using weapons together rather than separately being a big differential here in this upper level play. But Peter seems to have built this build specifically to be using one weapon at a time rather than everything at once. That way he always has a weapon ready to go.
Ooh, that's a nice little combo. The Frostbite does connect for the first time, I think, in this battle. And The Novas, you can see, being used to disrupt some of that pushing power from Peters, as one Nova flies up to the top of the arena, nowhere near being directed towards Peters' zone, and Peters doing a good job of dodging here, staying alive. The health is certainly low. What the heck? An entire drill nade hits the side of Triotrix. That's one way to get back into things.
Yeah, that was one heck of a play right there at the end. And I was really thinking, hey, why, especially on a build that is focused on using all the weapons one at a time, why drill nade? And I think we saw it right there at the end. Very similar to what you'd be using a lance nade for, blocking off that back portion of your opponent's arena, forcing them forward into the Luma, the Viper Ellipse, the Frostbite. I mean, heck, we were even seeing the Fast Fall Hurricane being used offensively straight forward for that extra little boost of speed. So Peters is definitely showing what Oops All DPS can do here.
It is a challenge, so it seems, for Trio to try and properly avoid what is that full spread. But we are going to go into a loadout swap, and I wonder if that's going to be enough to kind of get Trio back into this thing. I mean, do you think we see anything change from Peters' end, or is the success of the full DPS build something we'll keep seeing here?
I think that Peters will stay the same. I think that if anything, he might swap the drill nade just to throw Triotrix off a little bit. But from Triotrix's side, and we're getting in here, so I'm gonna get a little bit of spoilers. But no, he's at okay. He's gonna swap for the Curve Luma himself, taking away those double Vipers and focusing a little bit more on a shorter cooldown bullet hell build. My guess here is that what I was talking about at the very start of this set, where that Nova can be used to hide projectiles. I think he's kept everything else on his build as low cooldown as possible to just continuously be able to cycle that Nova. But we are also seeing Cap's favorite, that Collision Hammer, coming out for the Health Nade or the Health Nova matchup.
Yep.
So this is going to be interesting. Bit of counter picks from both of these two.
Ooh, the Health Nova soaking a bunch of Lumas there for Trio out the gate, but ultimately Trio does get hit. The Hurricanes come falling in, and a full Nova tags Peters in the shoulder. They try to avoid the Hurricane shots and move around the Nova, but they don't manage to. And, well, shoot, when a Health Nova hits you, that's certainly one way to lose a lot of health.
Yeah, and I mean, it's only 20 health compared to the usual 30 that it's doing, but I mean, as we've seen, even 14 damage that comes out of those Hurricane can be more than enough to even up or even change the tide of a match.
Good work from Peters there,
just
flying.
Constant threat of the Novas too with this fast cycle build.
Oh, the Lark Luma. Oh, no, the double Luma connection there. Setting up Peters for a round one win here and a round away. Oh, sorry about the replay. We don't have the right replay. I didn't hit the save replay button fast enough.
I gotta say, I love this new arena. The fact they made it at sunset makes everything a little bit. This just looks beautiful.
Out there in the desert, enjoying your time playing some Blaston.
Exactly. All right, those Hurricanes are going up. It looks like he's setting up for his first big push of the round.
Oh,
and Triotrix is gonna step out of bounds.
I was wondering what that damage was. It looked like they dodged the nade, but yeah, they do end up stepping a little bit too far out. That Viper shot tags them in the hand. But a little bit of a rebuttal here onto Peters. A nice job hitting some damage there, but instantly shutting down the Novas. The Hurricanes come in. Trio finds themselves on the back foot, but not for much longer. They do manage to connect there. I think a Hurricane tagged the shoulder, but they really need a Viper or Luma shot to make some damage onto Peters. Otherwise, it's going to be Peters with a still solid lead going into the back minute of this round. And as I say that, there's some good damage done.
There we go. Peters managing to duck down into the corner of his play area, and the Novas are no longer on the field, so he can dodge freely. It's pretty close, but Peters got the setup here. This ain't looking too... Ooh, very nice dodge.
Yeah, very aware of the threat of that drill nade, avoiding that. And a nice frostbite through the Health Nova. Good dodge work from Peters to stay alive, but they end up stepping into the Nova.
Does take him out. 20 damage is still a lot. All right, Triotrix postponing getting kicked out of the tournament. Let's see if he can take a match here.
do their best to survive. And oh, what an opener for Peters. The nade behind them throws Trio off, and I think they connect with a Viper shot up from the front. Trio suffering big to kick things off, trying to shoot bullets through. I love that. Love the use of that Nova as a wall, really, to try and put bullets through it to really throw Peters off and limit how much they can dodge.
Yeah.
Oh no!
I mean, even ow! Okay, it did 20 damage, so that wasn't the drill nade, but I think what happened there is in the process of dodging the drill nade, ends up running right into the Luma.
I think it was all three then, because they got hit by 3 hurricanes on the shoulder, a Luma, and the drill nade at the end there. If you go back and look at that replay, the full spread of DPS coming in there, Oolong. I mean, that's the real power of that build.
Yeah, and just the speed at which Peters can mobilize his build to be able to do that much damage. I mean, that last round there was 30 seconds. Sometimes we're going all the way to the minute in these matches, and sometimes we're not even getting past the first minute mark.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Our next matchup takes us out of the losers bracket, Oolong. We are no longer in the trenches, so to speak, and up to maybe a place where the players are feeling a little bit more confident because they do have the comfort of being pushed out into a losers bracket round, right? Their season isn't over with. If they end up dropping here, they can still continue to play for a chance at those next stages of banners, right? The next stage of postseason banner that you can get if you continue to advance on. Obviously, a chance at the 1,400 in cash and hardware prize. I think 1,450 in cash and hardware prizing. So plenty to be competing for out there this afternoon between these two players. But again, this is, we're back into that winners bracket. So what are your thoughts with this? I mean, obviously we got to talk to Cap about it. Do you think they're going to have a good chance against 24 here?
Well, I love to see it. I won't honestly know at all. 24 has been just dominating this whole season.
Yeah.
But Cap, as you can see with this last patch, they really do favor these builds that are able to do just so much damage at once. So it's going to be a battle of if 24 can dodge everything that Cap throws at them, or if Cap's going to be able to take some quick rounds here and, make some work off 24. But I mean, all 4 of these matches we've got coming up, we got 24 and Captain Fabulous, we got Slowed and Josie. That's another one where there's a lot of hidden information on both of these players. Turbo versus Bot and Kronster versus Monty. I mean, I think that Kronster versus Monty might actually be our closest match of the evening. But everyone else, it could go, honestly, we could favor one thing or the other, but at this point, it could go either way.
Yeah, it really could. We'll do a reset on the scores, and we will be ready to go here. I've given the go-ahead to the players. I think they're just doing a real thorough lobby test here.
They're being nice to me because I didn't log in
yet. There you go. Waiting for you, then, is what we'll say. Oh, I don't know what 24 has done.
Yeah, wait, hold on. Is he headless? This is an old glitch. Oh, okay. All right. Something's going on. He is like halfway in his podium right here.
Yeah. Some play space issues occurring here. So hopefully those all get sorted and we should be able to get into the action.
Yes, the best shield, your podium.
Yeah, I think we're good. I think everything is sorted now. 24 and Cap both ready to go. I mean, if you look at the overall rating, Oolong, this may be one of the closest matchups we get in terms of rating that's been established outside of the VRML. 29-9-6, 29-3-2. I think it's definitely the closest we've had in the series so far.
Yeah, and we're only like a week into the season, and they're already getting 1,000 LP over base? That's insane. So both of these two have also put in a ton of time this week, obviously practicing all of this, getting ready. And it seems like we are going to have a mirror matchup here. Let me just check. The only thing that is going to change between these two is the lack of bounce coming from 24. So I think that this was planned. I think that 24 knew that they were going to be going through a mirror. But Captain Fabulous showing his experience with the build itself and getting some quick damage off with the bounce on the actual podium itself.
Ooh, nice Luma shots, though, from 24. Viper shots keeping Captain up in this right now, but 24 is certainly capable of applying that pressure when needed, too. There's a good Raptor shot, and the Hurricanes connect on the back. and end up pushing 24 down. Cap takes round 1.
Oh my gosh. I did not expect a 28-second round with these two.
Nice spread
So
there. Good dodge.
Well, we'll see how much of that was overconfidence by 2-4 here. Maybe he might be taking Cap a bit more seriously now.
Yeah, well, it also was that big opening for Cap where they connected with a couple of Viper shots to really start things off. And so, yeah, to your point, 24 awake and loose now. Cap's been watching games, been casting. 24 has to come into this thing fresh. And, yeah, there's some Lumas connecting. There's the dodge from Cap and the Hurricanes, the Raptors. Big chunks of damage down on the Cap and a complete reversal in health going into round 2.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting too because 24 does enjoy this style of dodging where he essentially just is sliding around on the ground. And it seems like that was a prime place to be able to target him with the bounce Viper off the podium, but it seems like he's paying a lot more attention to that and not necessarily going through his muscle memory right now. Oh, very nice, Majestic. Oh, actually, kind of lands on the back of the podium for 24, but...
You can see 24 tried to drop shot Cap there and ends up hitting him with the Luma arc underneath. A nice bounce back from 24. Like you said, maybe that opening just kind of caught him by surprise, and they seem to be a little bit more locked in going into round 3 now in our first game of the winner's bracket.
Ooh, all right. You can see that nade being tossed out, not really for damage, mostly just for the distraction. And there are so many red dots flying across the screen right now.
Or kind of interestingly lined up on cooldowns too, where both of these players are basically shooting the same abilities at each other at the same time. So you get this weird Luma attack pattern where they both step up trying to hit the Luma. They both step up with the Viper, and they both try and dodge. So it's kind of a, again, that mirror match really coming into play here as 24 does take a little bit of damage. Cap doing a good job of weathering an early start for 24 nicely and trying to get back into this. They are just a round away from taking a game, and I don't necessarily knew that they thought they could do that, but as we see there, I think they popped out of bounds for some big damage.
Yeah. Yeah, and I honestly, going back to what you said too about the cooldowns, something I never thought would actually factor into this match, but it does factor into some of the special game modes where specifically you have a mirrored loadout. The ability to drop your weapons into the podium itself, you can see that on this stage, the weapons have a little bit more fall distance before they hit the ground, and the weapons are only going to despawn when they hit a platform. So by dropping your weapons straight down rather than trying to toss it forward, one of these players might actually manage to get a cooldown advantage on the other one.
Oh, and a Hurricane hits the shoulder of Fab there. They go down in our first round, and I imagine we're going to get a lobby swap here between rounds, but maybe not. Maybe just a bit of a water break. We'll have to see as we aren't instantly popping out, and it does look like Fab was grabbing some water there, and so we could be just kind of going right back into it for another game. I mean, you see anything that needs to be changed by either one? I guess Cap did take a round and got close to potentially securing another the first game.
I think that if 24 loses a match, I think they'll go for a swap, and they'll go for something with a little bit more bullet hell behind. But I think as of right now, I mean, with the builds looking exactly the same, unless they are looking to get that priority swap just to, account for the latency. Again, this is a worldwide event, so these two, although not as far away as Tim versus Cap yesterday, still quite a distance away. But I think 24, if nothing else here, is kind of flexing a little bit, and I don't think he's going to actually swap off of it until he's forced to.
Yeah, certainly been working. 24 has been able to connect with this, and so we'll have to see if Cap can win back a couple of rounds here, get back into things. A nice dodge from 24 to avoid all the Lumas and the double Viper. Not easy, as we've seen that become very successful for players today. And, I mean, the mirror matchup, huh? The same Majestic Nade coming out, but 24 connecting with the Viper shots.
Yeah, and honestly, 24 is also drop blocking so smoothly. It's actually a bit hard for me to see, but he is dodging and drop blocking these bullets at the same time.
Really awareness of the game, understanding of what they can and can't do and how to do it, where these bullets are coming from. They know how the bounces work. They know how the Lumas work. They're very there's no surprises coming at 24 here, and it really, again, it's going to come down to execution for Cap. Can they step forward? Can they dodge the right moment? Can they thread the right 1-2 combo? It doesn't seem like 24 is giving them the time of day as they continue to battle back against them, both stepping up to the front of the podium. 24 winning that Viper battle.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there are projectiles also, really quick projectiles coming from every which way too. So I mean, just the awareness, you know, not even looking up at it really. I mean, 24 is going off of, I think, sound cues for most of these shots.
Well, been a nice effort there, but much better dodge work from Fab there, avoiding the full spread, the Luma arcs and the double Viper with the Raptor trying to camouflage it. 24 nearly getting tagged by the Majestic Nade, but really playing this one close to the chest as it's just in front of them. Luma does tag the hand of 24. That's 20 damage down. Cap almost has the lead as Hurricanes tag the shoulders.
Oh, nice catch, but you can see that 24 was actually baiting with the nade a little bit. Cat manages to get around it. No, not quite that round. Oh, and 24 is going to go ahead and take game 2. I mean, it is getting very close for both of these two. And I think that it just goes to show the skill of 24 to be able to pick up Cap's build and beat him with it, but also just the experience that Cap has with this build at this point.
You know, with like we said, with the amount of play time behind both of these players, you know, 24 and Cap, really, there's not going to be a surprise loadout. You know, if they see a loadout there, they can understand it and know how to sort of dissect it with the knowledge that they have in this kind of game. And so I think really the test is that Cap's found something that works for them, but they haven't necessarily found a way to counter what works for them as they are now facing it, you know, face to face with 24. And, well, they did get around earlier, so maybe they can mimic that success. They did have a good opening on the round they won, and so maybe that's something they need here to kind of get back into things against 24.
Yeah, and you know what? The other thing I'm going to say, too, is that 24, with his just proficiency in dodging, if nothing else, he can survive a lot longer than Cap can on the front of his podium without having to take that step back. He is at the back of his podium right now, kind of waiting for everything to come off the cooldown. But when Cap takes a step forward, he can take a step forward as well. And oof, that's going to make it all the easier to land some of these shots.
Oh my gosh, those Lumas are hammering Cap right now. Really good arc work from 24, making it very hard for Cap to properly dodge those. And then you can see the drop shots, the blocking of those Viper Lumas that would potentially connect onto 24. And so there's really just, it's so hard to get through 24. You have to kind of surprise them. You have to throw them off, and another Luma arc connecting.
Okay, he does manage to take a bit of a... And 24 is going to go ahead and take round 1. Set point to 24, and yeah, like you said, Captain Fabulous is going to have to find a way to surprise him in order to get another round.
They really do have to start dodging those Luma arcs, and a good opener. But there's a nice little rebuttal. Fab does step forward, manages to catch a couple of shots on the 24. They catch some shots themselves, though, and go down to half health. The aggression being very much punished by 24 as Cap continues to apply that pressure. The Majestic Nade zoning 24.
No, they take another Viper as they step forward.
The danger of getting into the front of your podium, Oolong, present and accounted for here with Captain trying to get something going against 24 here.
Yeah. Ooh, and this game could end at any second, so I'm gonna save all of my actual thoughts until after the match. But Cap managing to hold on with just a sliver of health too.
I mean, a Raptor away, a Hurricane away, anything that touches them. Yeah,
no, not the Hurricane.
They avoided it. They avoided it. Still alive. The Raptors coming in. A Luma connects. And they couldn't do it. They couldn't get the round and reset. 24 takes the bout. They take 6 out of the 7 rounds played. And, well, they continue to stay true to their sort of title of the best player of Blaston.
Yeah, and you know, the one difference to even talk about in their builds, I actually think may have favored 24, excuse me, very, very, very slightly, only because to get the proper bounce with the bounce Viper, you kind of have to fire straight forward at your opponent. So not down, and since 2-4 hits the ground so much when they're dodging, I think that actually the necessity to actually point that Viper down was only costing Cap some bounces, since even if it did manage to hit the back wall, it would have bounced back at such an angle that it had no chance of hitting 24 at all.
We're going to take a look at our next couple of matches here this afternoon, what the overall schedule is saying. We're going to combine this knowledge with a bracket that'll show to you right now. As you can see, I saw the request come in, so we might as well show it on stream. We've been through round 1 as of yesterday. We're starting the winner's bracket of round 2. We've worked our way through the loser's bracket, although we still have Heritage and Tim to get played out in that loser's bracket. And so we still do have one game. That's going to be our very last game of the afternoon, it seems, just based off of timing and scheduling. So we will finish things off with an elimination round, but we are going to stick onto the winner's bracket for now and continue to sort of work through these games. I think up next is Floyd and Jay Josie. So, we've been looking forward to this one, whereas 24, I think, kind of maybe had the votes. If you were going to ask the community who was going to win, I don't know if there's a real solid answer for who's going to win this one.
Yeah, I mean, you have the default answer of, okay, well, it's Josie. Josie's going to go ahead and take the win. But again, when Josie goes silent and Josie doesn't show up on a whole bunch of streams, I mean, really anything can happen at this point. And I think that Slode's been training real hard and has showed his skill, getting into the finals pretty naturally from the EU region. So I think this could definitely be a close match. It could end up like Captain Fabulous in 2-4, where, it is very, I'm going to say it, pretty one-sided it could be. Or this could be the closest match we see today. So I really have no solid predictions. I did predict in my bracket prediction. I did actually predict Slode, but I think that's overall the least expected option here.
Yeah, it's a possibility, certainly, and we are gonna root for the mod. I think as part of the production team, the mods are part of us, and so we gotta. Just like we were rooting for Cap. I was hoping Cap could put a game or two up on the board against 24. We'll see if Sloweed can do it against Jay Josie here, as that is, again, our next matchup. We do have loadouts present and ready. And, I have to... Jay Josie's not playing themselves. That'd be impossible.
Well, I do actually see something right off the bat. And this is actually a trend that I've seen a lot during the last patch, but also kind of as we settle into this patch. That charge hammer being run as a replacement for the hammer ellipse, as sort of spread of bullets. However, Slow does have that health Nova that's going to be able to shut down the charge hammer and a lot of the front-facing damage. So... I mean, I still think this could go either way, but it'll be an interesting match nonetheless. I can tell with this loadout that if nothing else, Josie is taking this matchup serious.
I mean, I still think even more impressive is 24 accepting into the mirror match, before the matchup against Cap and still being able to do what they did. That is certainly a feat in and of itself, but Josie, like you said, bringing the tried and true here up against Sloweed, and we'll see who ends up coming out on top as we do dive into round 1.
Okay, Josie starting off with that. Ooh, with the charge hammer, doesn't quite get that last shot off. Oh, and those health novas are going to be a present danger. Oh, there we go, and Josie just showing off that he's still got it. He's still got the moves. And this build cooldown is looking slow enough for Slode to really constantly be cycling those Novas. So that is going to be putting some constant pressure on Josie as he tries to throw out his combos. Oof, and Slode even managing to land a very nice Luma there.
Yeah, Slode very much playing into the name, going for that slow, methodical build here. And a little bit of chip damage done by Josie there. And
spacing out those first two Novas, just to buy himself a little bit of time for the rest of his cooldowns to come offline. And now Josie actually might be getting trapped here in the corner. No, not quite. Not quite.
Maybe an effort from Sloweed to kind of spread them out so that the Aegis shield doesn't hit all three in a shutdown sort of attempt there.
That's a good point, because I think that with the Aegis shield and the charge hammer, he could take it out with 6 seconds. Ooh, he doesn't quite get rid of the nade. He has to duck over directly into some Raptor Ellipse shots.
Yeah, and they really had Josie zone nicely into that corner, but couldn't connect with the Lumas. They do a bit of chip damage, but now it's Josie starting to step forward, and Slowy, it does suffer a little bit more of that chip damage. Those hammer nades not quite connecting onto Slowy just yet, and if anything, the Viper Viper Ellipse is kind of navigating around these health novas.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that the amount of ellipse is definitely a good counterplay either way. And, you know, there we go. Josie going ahead and taking him out with the Viper Ellipse. Yeah, I think that Slode's goal here is to just keep those Novas in constant cycle and just basically alternate between putting down the Novas and then going through his whole big combo. And Josie just showing that he can still get around it.
I'm seeing Cap upset that we voted for them.
That we rooted for him? Well, that's what he gets.
Yeah,
That's what he gets for being so well liked.
Yeah, don't be
can't
friendly.
even help it. Exactly.
Same goes for Slow, an absolute stellar mod. Done a great job this season to help organize and run the events, and big hats off to them. I didn't say it yesterday, but they are a large part in why yesterday and today are running as smooth as they do, because they are doing a great job organizing. So hats off to them.
Okay, and they're gonna step up and get 2 Luma shots too. Okay, so if we root for them, they do badly, but if we just compliment them, then that's okay. Trying to work out the caster's curse and see how we can use it to help buff Slowed up a little bit here.
First, though, I think the first time Sloyd's had a lead here in this battle, Josie. I mean, otherwise, round 1, Josie was leading for the majority of it. But as we get into the back 45 seconds here, we did see last round almost go to time. Nice Luma there, steps up this lead even more for Sloyd. They're really sitting comfortable now with 40 seconds. If anything, they just have to dodge Oolong.
Yeah, just dodge. I mean, and you know, for them, actually, it goes a little bit further, because with the health novas, they really could just stall if they wanted to in these last 30 seconds. It's a dangerous move. I would say it's honestly more dangerous than trying to end the round, but, you know, it puts the focus really just on keeping those novas in cycle, which looks like what he already wants to do with the build. 15 seconds left on the clock. Josie does have that Viper Ellipse, so we could see some big moves here in the last seconds.
Oh, yeah, you really have to prioritize dodging these things and making sure the ellipses don't come through. If anything, you can take a couple of Raptor shots, but time is going to be the savior of Slowed. And, well, again, living to the name of Slowed, taking the full time to take that round. And we're tied up 1 apiece in game 1. Yeah, certainly shaping up to be a close battle.
Now, here's one last other thing I will say, and this one's probably a little bit more controversial, but I was saying yesterday about Master 17 that he's a pretty emotional player. And once things start not going his way, it's sort of a downward slope. And I have to say it's definitely to a lesser extent, but I've also noticed that behavior coming out of Josie. So he's going to have to keep his prime mental state here. Oh, it does look like he's keeping his eyes on the prize.
A massive connection there. The 1-2 combo, 1-2-3-4 combo is what it looked like. There is a full bullet spread. Comes at him, and a big connection from Slowy. I mean, that's all it takes for some of these heavy hitters. You just need 1 or 2, and they're right back into it. But yeah, just a battle, just a slugfest right now. Each exchanging blows, and Slowy ultimately coming out with a little less HP than Josie. With a minute left, 1 Viper away is going to end this round.
Yeah. Yep. And if he can make it through these next couple pushes, when these Novas get to Josie's side, he could be in trouble, maybe? Oh, I don't think so.
Not anymore. The Lumas missed. The setup was there, but it didn't connect. And yeah, now they're really kind of in a bit of a jam as they have to dodge the attack.
That was really a really fantastic Viper Ellipse from Josie. Getting that curve all the way to the very edge of the arena before having it come back. And yeah, I mean, it was just that one big setup from Josie. So I think that Slowed is going to really have to disrupt those combos still, especially because even if that Nova does defend, it's going to take quite a bit of time before it can actually be online and on Josie's side of the podium.
Interesting to see no loadout swap here. Obviously, Sloyd feeling good about what they were able to do against Josie in that last series, but Josie's definitely sitting on a bit of an advantage in momentum right now. Attack comes in, the hammer connects, and another huge chunk. I mean, that hammer practically hit the whole side of Josie. Or, excuse me, of Sloyd.
Yeah. And, I mean, sadly, that is how this matchup is going to go to some extent. And, you know, it goes the same thing with the Luma. But, you know, Josie is really getting the nades to pop exactly where it is most inconvenient for Sloyd. Sloyd wants to keep these Novas as front-facing as physically possible. And so anything that's coming directly at him is fairly easy to block. Anything that's coming from that backhand corner is going to be quite difficult. So Josie really keeping his calculations up and really, you know, not getting too stressed after losing that, losing the round.
Oh. Slowy getting hit by a Viper Ellipse, and that's certainly going to wrap that round up. Josie looking good here, looking on track for 2 games in a row and really taking a nice solid lead. Slowy just having a tough time dodging the initial full bullet spread, but as I say that, they do manage to get around the entire bullet attack there, that entire initial onslaught that has been impacting them for the majority of these rounds. So if anything, they're in a much better state now, but as I say it, they get tagged by a couple of big Viper shots. They can't
again, you know, just really calculating with that hammer nade. Honestly, I think this might be the best we've seen as far as nade play goes. You know, usually you just want to get it close to your opponent, but he is really positioning it in such a way that he's forcing Sloyd to dodge into the Viper Ellipse bullets to some degree.
Another thing, too, is the Luma's not connecting here for Sloyd, and that's sort of the main damage element. If nothing else hits and the Luma doesn't, then Sloyd's going to be in bad shape. I think that was maybe an OB. I'm not sure what happened there, but they get tagged in the hand, and that's game 2 into the hands of Josie.
I think that was just a simple Raptor Ellipse, honestly.
Uh-oh. Interesting.
Yeah, and, you know, the other thing, too, with the Luma is that Josie is really keeping his weapons specifically for the drop block. And, you know, he has the proper setup. He has the block of vision with the Novas. And yet Josie, I mean, pretty much based off of timing alone, is managing to drop block and deny Sloyd any advantage that he may have in his position. So, honestly, just very, very solid gameplay from Josie. And, I mean, this is kind of expected. This is definitely what we usually see from Josie. It's just very, very solid gameplay all around.
Wonder if a lobby swap is going to be something that'll get a little bit of help to Slowy's side of things. We'll have to see if it does, but that's what we are getting here for our potentially final round. As Slowy's back really against the wall, though I say that knowing that if they lose here, they're not out, right? They go down into that loser's bracket. They have an opportunity to keep playing. They've got more games ahead. They get to play next weekend, you know, but still, it is, you know, if you advance, really the real prize is advancing, right? You know, sure, you go down a loser's bracket if you lose, but if you advance, I mean, you get pushed into that that round 3.
Top 8.
Yeah, and top 8 is a new banner, if I'm correct.
Oh,
or is it top? Or is it?
I don't know about that, but even if he goes down now, he's essentially going to have that extra match that he has to face in the losers bracket. The losers bracket round 3 is, I believe, where you go in and you do the losers bracket matchups rather than having players coming down from the front. And I think that was pretty much what Sloyd was kind of saying to Josie at the end. I didn't have my game audio on, but just based off of body language alone, I think he was saying like, hey, do you even want me to weapon swap? Because, you know, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be losing this either way, and I'll still be safe going down to the finals. And Josie's like, yeah, of course I want you to weapon swap. I want you to beat me. Do it. Take it from me.
That's what it is. Okay, so I'm wrong. It's VRML Season 1, the general banner that everyone, the participation banner, that's out there. The VRML finalist banner that you've been seeing on display by these finalists is out there. But then there's that VRML Season 1 champion banner. And so that's, I guess, the final banner they can get. That's what they're pushing for, that top spot, that #1 position. And yeah, very much looking forward to getting into it. We do have a new lobby here, so I don't want to waste any time of these players. Although I'm sure they'll take any break they can get, right?
You know, it's funny you mentioned that. During one of the tournaments, I actually did a time study on weapon swaps, specifically because before there was the ping notificators, there was a lot of talk about whether or not actually lobby swapping was effective. And I think that if you were to swap every single room, every single game over the course of a best-of-5 match, about a third of your time would be sitting waiting for both the lobby and for the startup matches. So I do know that Resolution's working on it as far as weapon swaps in game. There's been hints, there's been speculation, there's been a very brief hint if you go and you watch the QA video of rather than fully allowing weapon swaps, possibly allowing players to, I believe, swap between essentially pre-made loadouts of weapons, which I also think would be very
Yeah, that would be interesting. I mean, imagine if you had, just as another kind of just because we're brainstorming here, you had 3 loadouts that each player showcased before they joined, before you started a series, and you knew that these were the 3 potential loadouts they could play. All sorts of interesting ideas around that. But regardless, the system works fine as it is. I'm complaining for no real reason. This has been a great tournament so far, a great bit of back and forth. That we've been watching.
It's just because we love Blaston.
Yeah, and I want more of it. I love it. I want more of it. I want it faster. I want it faster into my veins, and so that's what it's all about. Yeah.
And there we go. Some quick action right at the start of the round as Slows dips into, I believe that was a whole bunch of hammer bullets.
Interesting to see the change come in from Josie after winning 2 games. The Vandal is getting brought in here, and apparently it seems to be working well. Slowy getting slammed by that bullet spread and not really able to set anything up against Josie right now, as Josie has a very comfortable lead in this first minute.
Yeah. Ooh, and that Viper lip shot getting pretty close, too.
Yeah, almost had a blind with the Vandal.
You're actually seeing Josie use it. I believe that was going to be a counter pick for the Health Nova, which was giving Josie trouble for sure. But, oof. Here we go with the curve Luma. I think that now he's bringing it out partially just to disrupt Slowed a little bit more. Again, just losing vision of where all your opponent's projectiles are, regardless of whether it's because you force your opponent to look up to deal with a nade, or if you possibly had bounce bullets that are coming from behind. Any way of disrupting vision, even for a split second, can really affect how effective a push is.
A much better start here for Slowy as they open things up and manage to connect with the Lumas. That's really what's separating these two, is that the big hitters are landing for Josie and not necessarily for Slowy. As I say that, a Viper Ellipse does connect onto the shoulder there, and so Slowy does get chunked down, but I think a Hurricane tags onto the shoulder and a little bit more damage done. Slowy may be able to take a round here if they can string this thing together with the Luma.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, Josie's biggest enemy seems to be out of bounds damage, really. He took a good, decent chunk on top of the damage that he took from the Luma there. So even if you do manage to dodge, it's a matter of how you dodge, not just if you can or cannot.
There's that hammer nade to the side, avoiding it nicely, and you can see it ends up kind of detracting from the attack as they're looking so that you can't hit your target if you're not looking at it. I think that's
yeah, exactly. And there we go with the Hurricane. Speaking of not looking at it, Josie doesn't look up, and Slowed manages to take another round.
Oh, we got the wrong replay. I'm sorry. I saved it. I wanted the Hurricane replay, but we didn't get it. It's fine. Back into the action we go for round number 2 of round 3, of game 3. Slowy trying to hang on here, trying to advance into that round 3 winners bracket. Doesn't want to go down into the losers bracket. That's more games to be played. It's a longer haul, if you will. That's really a test of stamina next weekend, and so you definitely want to have the easier route, which is to win now and advance forward into that winners bracket.
A test of your stamina and also your headset's battery stamina.
Yep.
Ooh, all right. Those Raptor Ellipse shots from Josie, trust me, they might not look like the worst thing in the world, but I don't know what sort of special spice he puts on them, but it always seems like he manages to land 1 or 2 off that 3-second weapon.
What's interesting,
just the casual juggling here. Oof, between the Luma, the Viper Ellipse, and the nade.
What I'm also seeing here is that these the Hurricanes keep connecting onto Josie, and then Josie really isn't prioritizing disrupting them. They have the Vandal to shut down those Hurricane shots, but they're using the Vandal for an offensive purpose. They're really trying to blind Sloyd and then set up for those Viper shots.
Yeah, I don't know if that's just overconfidence, but it's certainly quite a bit of damage. It adds up fairly quickly.
Sloyd was looking bad there, but manages to connect with Illuma, evens the odds just a bit. That's a nice nade detonation that forces them into a corner, but only the Wildcats end up hitting.
Ooh, okay. Oh, there we go again. Josie using the hammer nade to set up for the Viper lip shot, really predicting where Sloyd is gonna be going, and then bringing that Viper lips down.
Yep.
GG's. Wow. There we go. Well, I can't say that this wasn't an unexpected result, but I mean, Sloyd definitely stood a chance during all of those matches. I'd say that that wasn't entirely one-sided.
No, definitely wasn't. And Sloyd, staying in there with that loadout, trusting in what they know and understand. Again, it's kind of that question of, do you take something you don't know, or do you take something that you've been practicing for season, the entirety of a season, weeks and weeks. This is a long process of these players honing in their preferred loadouts. And so, a nice effort there from Josie, but ultimately not enough. Our next game looking to be Turbo and Bot. If we take a quick look at the bracket, you can see that we do have Sloyd advancing on up against 24. That'll certainly be an exciting matchup to next weekend that we'll be tuning into on Saturday. But again, Turbo and Bot up next, Kronstar and Monty, and then we wrap things up with the final losers bracket round, Heritage and Tim. So 3 games left on the list. Out of these 3, what are you looking forward to the most? The elimination round when the pressure's on, or one of these 2 winner brackets?
I'm going to say, as much as I love Heritage and Tim, I'm definitely looking forward to Turbo and Bot and Kronster and Monty. The past 2 matches, I knew that they were going to be good, but it was fairly safe to assume who was going to win, especially Turbo and, I mean, really both of these, Turbo and Bot, Kronster and Monty. There's uncertainty with both the players. Turbo was struggling a little bit, barely managed to make it to winners round 2. And then, although Monty was definitely doing well, Kronster's really been pulling it through ever since that last week of VRML. So these will all be very, very close matches. Tim versus Heritage, that one I also might know where it's going, but there's, of course, the added pressure, of that being the losers bracket, and thus the chance that one of those players might just take that big L and be kicked out of the tournament entirely. So great matches. I honestly I expect to see a lot of what we saw in winners round 1. I think that the Health Nova picks recently, as much as everyone on paper that weapon looks really, really, really fantastic, I think that the Health Nova has been doing more to stall the builds than it really has to defend against these big pushes that we see, especially when you factor into account that the Luma's been pretty much run on every single loadout we've seen in the past couple matches.
Yeah, I'm, again, looking forward to the Turbo Bot battle. We did just get to see, obviously, Bot go up against, and eliminate... Oh, why am I blanking?
No, not Monty. Triotrix.
Yeah, Triotrix.
I forgot too.
We just saw them. They are coming off a win, but this means that unlike these other players, they've had to play a game already today, right? So they've had to get loose, focus in, use some energy, and then kind of cool back down. Maybe try and stay a little bit loose with some games in between. But I mean, it's been 6 games since they've played, a couple of hours at least, and so. Interested to see how Bot fares here up against Turbo, if Turbo's coming in full energy and ready to go. And we're giving both the players the ready. Once they're ready, we are going to dive into the action here. So just a few moments away from starting off this series, and I think we are getting into round 1 right now.
Already we're seeing I am... Somehow. I've got technical difficulties on my end, so apologies. I'm going to have to take an additional second to get in here.
Keep the action flowing as Turbo takes half their HP down, a massive chunk from Bot. But what we're seeing really from Turbo is a lot of methodical drop shotting. And, that was a warm-up round, thankfully, I guess.
Whew.
What do I know? You didn't miss anything,
I
and
still got time. I still got time.
yeah. You haven't missed anything. We're getting ready to hop into the start of round 1. Again,
No, there we go. All right.
we're ready when they are.
Excellent. Got it in the nick of time.
Looking at the loadouts here, pretty standard stuff. Double Viper and Aegis. The hammers to throw off and disrupt, potentially chip away. And yeah, Wildcat, Raptor, Ellipse with that Luma. The Health Nova may be something that will work to help Turbo battle against the Double Viper combo of bot, but I guess we'll have to see how that pays off as they do just a little bit more stretching, some high fives, and maybe they'll start. Who knows? Who knows what they're waiting for?
I can't see their loadouts just yet, but I do see those 2 big, beautiful VRML podiums right there. Looking good, folks.
Yes, indeed they are. Into round 1 we go. The Health Nova's coming in as the setup, but again, you have that Charge Hammer to sort of disrupt the Health Nova, and it obviously does utilize one of the utility pieces, but that Charge Hammer is going to be up more often than the Health Nova, and so...
Ooh. All right. Bot going ahead and taking that Viper lift shot, and I was just about to make a comment, too, that he's going to have to space out that double Viper essentially in between the Health Nova, but it's not impossible.
Aegis Shield comes in, doesn't fully kill the Health Novas, but then a quick hammer ellipse shot disrupts all 3. And so obviously a practice method of getting rid of these Novas. Bot's familiar with it, and they're working around them quite nicely as they connect with the Viper ellipse there underneath that Health Nova. And the Viper straightforward tagging Turbo. Turbo getting peppered here at the start of round 1, and Bot definitely looking good. Just a couple of weapons throws away from taking this first round.
Yeah. Man, and I think you were absolutely right. I think you hit the nail on the head right there. I think this is practice, that this is methodical, that this is something that Bot, he was obviously performing the same sort of strategy against Triotrix earlier. And like you said, that weapon throw is going to go ahead and take round 1 for Bot.
Just a slice of HP away is all it took. And Bot there barely taking any damage, so a very good round for them to start things off. Obviously, again, showcasing an understanding of how to counter what is Turbo's build right now. And I wonder if Turbo's thinking already of maybe ways they can kind of counteract what they're seeing here. Obviously, landing some Viper shots would be a good start, but they can't quite, or excuse me, some Luma shots as they don't have that Viper.
Yeah. Well, I also think that, they're paying a lot more attention to the drop walk. Even though, and I thought this at first, but I guess not, that is not a bounce Viper. That is a normal Viper. So it's going to be a little bit harder to drop block that with one weapon, but still Turbo doing a good job of focusing on playing that defense, not just with the Nova, but also when the Nova is gone. Especially as Bot seems to landed the Charge Hammer instead of landing it on the Nova like Turbo probably expected him to do.
Yep. Yeah, really good mind games in the middle of the action from Bot here, but they ultimately do take a couple of those Raptor ellipses to the chest, and it does put Turbo up in HP into the back minute of this round 2. First game of the day, and Turbo gets connected there. That's all it takes, one Viper to get things back in order for Bot, but they do take a little damage themselves again, and so they do kind of get chipped down almost to the same HP of Turbo. They're just a couple of bullet shots away from being back into this, and the Lumas do connect. Bot goes down. Round 2 goes into Turbo's hands.
Yeah, and you may have noticed something at the end of that round that Bot did a fantastic job of setting up the combo and then looked around and didn't have a Viper to be able to fire off. So that could have gone very differently. Yep. Very slight difference in timing here, sometimes making the difference between a successful push and an unsuccessful push.
There's the full bullet spread coming in from Bot. Does just a touch of damage. There's the Viper connecting. The double Viper connecting. The ellipse tagging the shoulder. Turbo getting chunked down big time there. Does use that Majestic to kind of block a little bit of that bullet spread coming in. The Nova's doing a good job of denying some of that spread. The Charge Hammer coming in behind the Novas and the ellipse. Nothing quite tagging. Oh, there's the Luma. The double Luma onto Bot.
Shoot, that may have been a triple Luma just based
Yeah,
off
might
the
have been.
damage alone. Wow, Turbo, despite being on red for this long, is staying alive and honestly making it look a little bit easy.
I mean, absolutely doing a great job of battling back. Bot's now sticking to the tried and true strategy of shutting down the Novas, but a Luma does connect. Bot down on HP, just a Viper Ellipse from winning this round though, and game 1. But the same goes for Turbo.
Drop block.
Just a Luma away from taking this, and they have the full setup coming. The Novas are here. The Majestic Nade's going to zone. The Charged Hammer goes around the Novas, and so if anything, maybe an opportunity for Turbo to connect with some of these Lumas. No, all 3 missed. The Majestic Nade didn't quite go.
Oh, and the Raptor Lips!
Oh,
Just enough. Just a slice of damage, and Bot goes down. Turbo takes game number 1. Do we soldier on for another round? No, we go to a swap.
Yeah, you know, again, we're seeing that Majestic Nade coming out. Honestly, not at all for the zoning, but rather for the defensive capabilities and just the pure distraction. You know, the amount of times that it actually dealt damage to Bot, I actually don't think that it dealt damage to Bot once, but throwing it up and then following up immediately with the Luma afterwards, that ended up doing a lot of damage, and the biggest swings were due to that tiny bit of distraction and setup.
Yeah, and you can see Bot going for those Majestic Nade denials, you know, definitely investing the time and energy to reach up and extend to try and shut those down and redirect them, recognizing the threat of the zoning, really, but that also is time spent, you know, movements invested where they could potentially be tagged elsewhere, and so, I mean, I do wonder what the swap could potentially be, from either one
I
of
wouldn't be
these
surprised
sides.
if the swap ended up just predicting, but you know, possibly could swap out that Charge Hammer for a Collision Hammer. Although, you know, as much as I know Cap loves it, didn't actually see it taking out many health Novas in the other matchup. So it still might not be a perfect solution.
I think we're gonna try and get Fabulous back onto the desk.
Back in here. He heard me talking about it.
So dude, bear
He
with us
heard me
for
talking
any
about his Collision Hammer.
cam issues, but yeah, it could be back on cam soon enough, and then we'll be again just sort of prepping for our next round as we wait for a swap. There it is. It looks like Turbo's going posting versus Bots. Get to the analyst desk there so we can see Cap. And Cap, are you riddled with sweat after your tough match against 24?
yeah. I honestly, I don't really remember what happened. It was kind of a blur of me forgetting everything I knew about the build, him out pressuring me. But I got around, and he didn't 100 to 0. So those are my 2 things.
Yeah, I mean, we said it here at the desk, but it really was just a display of 24's knowledge of the game there. Able to pick into a mirror match for you and then still be able to showcase it so well and really execute it so well.
I mean, you know, lots of people have done that to me. Slowy, Josie, 24. It's kind of a rite of passage from Blaston to pick a build that I predominantly play and embarrass me with it, or just embarrass me with it. But yeah, I mean, you know, he's a top 3 player, and I'm not even top 10. So it's, you know, I'm happy with how it went. It was a really fun game, and honestly, 24, if you ever want to scrim like that again, I'm always down. That's a great card game.
And don't worry, we were rooting for you the whole time. That way you had a
I
valid.
actually hate you. I was considering sending threats to you before the game. Just not even explaining why I was doing it, just a verbal abuse at you so you wouldn't root for me.
Right, exactly.
It didn't work. Anyway, into it.
We'll root for 24 next time, all right? And then the tides will all turn.
Yeah, we're not quite firing it up just yet, but I am giving the go-ahead to both squads. What's the swap? Is it just sides? Or...
Well, Turbo definitely went ahead and took off the Nova. I think that might have actually... Oh, no. Okay, Bot did definitely make a swap for the Hammer Ellipse rather than just relying on that Charge Hammer. Actually,
no, they had
running
both.
Hammer Ellipse last time. So yeah,
We just swapped sides.
So yes, the no weapon swap from Bot. This swap did come from Turbo.
Yeah, the
despite
Viper
winning the
Ellipse.
match.
The Viper Ellipse coming in for that Majestic Nade.
Oh yeah, and the Cortex Shield instead of the Health Nova.
Yep.
But Yeah, also that, yeah. Viper Lips and Luma. Again, we're seeing a lot of players really switch over to all-out aggression versus, trying to even think about doing chip damage.
As you say that, though, the Raptors connect for some good chip damage to open things up for Turbo. They zone him nicely to the bottom of the floor and then connect there with that Raptor. But here comes the full attack from Bot, the full setup. Turbo uses that shield to shut down a good chunk of it, but now they have to dodge these Viper Ellipse, that double Viper coming in. They have the Luma available to them, so they're going to try and... Oh, no, misfire there. I don't think they intended that one to go off. I don't think they intended that nade to go off there either. Turbo having a tough bout on this offensive joust here, but they still have another minute to kind of reset things once the tools reset. And, oh, that's a good attack.
And you'll see Turbo doing something here too. Well, I guess not right there because I don't think its shield even spawned. But you'll see him going for the drop blocks before he uses the shield. That way he can reserve the full amount of health that he possibly can once he actually pops. Right, drop blocks now coming out from Bot as well.
Oh, and that was a great nade reversal. Turbo reaching up and redirecting that one to Bot, and Bot just not able or even ready for that speed of a nade to come at them. And so Turbo off to the races here with a nice round one, but we'll see what Bot can do after they've got a little bit of a warm-up going. Another good opening for Turbo, though, as they do, again, chip away damage to get them an early lead.
Ooh, nice calculation there from Turbo. Gets rid of the nade without even having to touch it.
Oh, there's the Viper Ellipse. The Viper Ellipse connecting there.
Ellipse. Oh, is Bot gonna... Okay, no. Well, kind of. A little back and forth there. If you hold your opponent's weapon, you can't actually stop it from spawning. So I was wondering for a split second there if Bot was gonna try and do that to get rid of the shield.
Interesting. Wait till everything you have is respawn and then hit them while their shield's on CD. Yeah, certainly could be a tactic we see deployed. But at this stage, there is really just, again, a fist fight, a brawl, a battle of trying to of offensive setups. And, we're seeing here the setup from Bot. Nothing does connect on the Turbo. They don't have the Viper to thread through that bullet hell, and now a full push comes in. They have the Viper still on hand, but they still haven't shot it. They're waiting for some more stuff to come off the cooldown.
It looks like they're almost feigning with that Viper more than they're actually using it. Not a bad strategy at all.
Yeah, they were waiting for the double Viper to come in before they deployed it, but that double Viper gets dodged nicely by Turbo. And I think right now Turbo has the lead on Hell, so if time does continue to tick down, it may go into Turbo's hands. But that was a nice redirect from the nade from Bot. It ends up getting a little bit of damage onto Turbo. And a big connection there from the Viper puts them in the lead here. 15 seconds left. Turbo needs to turn something on.
Yeah. Yeah, and the pressure is really on Turbo to have to get this back. He has the Luma that could do some quick damage, but he's got to watch out for double Viper, which is in play at this point.
Yep, couldn't quite do it. Had the Luma, had the Viper, tried to get both to connect onto Bot, but couldn't, and Bot takes round two. Game two tied around a piece, just like it was with game one. I mean, this battle continues to be close between Bot and Turbo.
Yeah, and I think that the difference is just going to be who actually lands the Luma / the Viper Ellipse. It's these big chunks of damage that seem to be deciding games, and if those big chunks of damage don't land from Bot, it seems like Turbo is more than happy to go ahead and play the slow game.
Yeah, the slow game, methodical game, really trying to just pick your moments, try and push through these gaps in the armor that you really are hard to find with players this good at the game at this stage. And so it really is assessing, trying to do anything you can. And Bot's finding the gaps in the armor. They're managing to get these Vipers and Viper Ellipses to connect onto Turbo.
Quite literally went ahead and went around the shield with the straight Viper somehow, but Turbo managed to get a good hammer nade, and those pellets doing 6 damage apiece rather than 4, really showing that, that's a small and yet a large difference in damage.
Oh, and Bot has the advantage here. Turbo forced to the back of the zone, but the shield was up, and the Vipers don't connect. Now the offense comes in from Bot, trying to push Turbo back, and it does connect as Turbo steps forward. Bot has one final shot left. to hit them with, and they do. Bot has the lead with 35 seconds left. They're really just a couple of bullets away from Turbo going down, and there it is.
Oh, there they are.
We're tied up again
yeah,
apiece.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And you know, it's different when in the last round where it was like 15 seconds left on the clock and both of them were in the red. If you have like 45 seconds left on the clock, then that's going to be ended by health. That's not going to be ended by the timer. And I think both of these players really knew that stalling was not an option.
Cap, we're into our third game. No loadout swaps. Does that surprise you? Oh, he's got to unmute
I don't think it
himself.
surprises me as much as it probably surprises. I think a bot's going to stick with this build no matter what. If anything, I might see a change from Turbo, but you know, Turbo likes that Cortex shield. Even when it was a little bit more of an investment, he was still running that Cortex shield into a lot of his bullet hell. Speaking of the bullet hell, doesn't manage to get the Cortex shield to block all of that, and he is pretty solidly in the red.
Big damage opening up here for Bot. Turbo absolutely getting hammered in the first 30 seconds, and Bot's looking to come out of game 3 guns blazing. They're bouncing back from a tough game 1 loss to Turbo, and Turbo really hasn't found the rhythm that they had at the start of this series. They did a great job initially dodging all of those Viper shots, but since then it has been Bot connecting with a couple here and there, and ultimately, you know, obviously chipping away big chunks of damage onto Turbo early this round. We'll have to see what Turbo can do going on the attack. They have the shield. The Raptor Ellipse comes in. The nade to the back doesn't quite land, and for now, Bot survives. There's a Luma that does connect. The Viper Ellipse goes a touch wide.
Yeah. Ooh, all right. Turbo slowly chunking Bot down. Bot's got to end it. It's not going to look good if he tries to time this round out.
A couple of bullets away. A Viper Ellipse away at that, for that matter. Oh, but good dodge work. Turbo really playing it cautiously, aware of the threat. Ooh. So risky trying to counter Vipers with Vipers too. You know, to be stepping up like that is a big risk to be taking, but Turbo's not afraid to take it. Another dodge.
Ooh, okay. Did manage to disrupt it there. Yeah, I feel like most of my commentary of this match is just various forms of ooh and ah.
There's the full spread. 5 seconds left.
Turbo managing to stay alive.
Oh! So close for Turbo to take that one. The hammer, the Viper Ellipse, excuse me, almost connects. It does connect, but nothing more to follow it up with. And the slice of health that Turbo had was not enough to put them up. This is a good start for Turbo, though. They definitely one they need, as they've been on the back foot with a couple of rounds lost in a row now. Boss seemingly finding a rhythm in this series. We'll see if Turbo can run something back here with a good opening.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, just goes to show that he got half of his health bar chunked in the first 30 seconds, and yet he wasn't even able to be taken out. The timer had to end it there. I definitely think that he's starting to learn Bot's tempo a little bit more and sort of reserving the weapons that he needs to shut down the aggression that Bot is putting forward.
Oh no, a little bit of chip damage done, but ultimately not too much. Tries to use the shield to block that Viper shot again, but it is denied by Turbo with that drop shot. Oh no, and a hammer charge absolutely devastates Turbo, predicting the step up. Bot counters, and really a nice bit of again, like
the veins.
Two boxers hitting each other with big 1-2s, and 50 seconds, not a lot of time for Bot to survive, and yeah, only needed 6 more for Turbo to take the round. Again, for game number 3, we are tied around apiece.
Yeah. Wow, this actually might be the closest game that we've seen so far today, if not in the entire series so far.
Yeah, I think it is probably the best game, or the closest game we've had since the postseason started with the wild card. But we certainly did have some good games in the wild card, so not to shadow those. But either way, a great battle between these two, and the first 30 seconds go a little bit everyone dodging here.
Yeah. And I mean, you can see Turbo really waiting to use that shield for as long as he possibly can, because he knows that it's not going to be all this bullet hell that takes him out. It's going to be the Viper that comes right after it.
Just barely missing over the shoulder of Turbo. The bounce shot were there. I wonder what would be happening. Turbo maybe would just be drop blocking him. But either way, Turbo does take a bit of damage from the backside there. I don't know if that was a Viper shot or a hammer nade damage coming in from behind him.
That was the Viper shot, but the setup from the hammer nade is what positioned Turbo in the perfect spot for Bot to be able to land that.
Tries to get Bot into a corner with the setup, but can't quite. Turbo doesn't connect with the Lumas, and so we just kind of trade small bits of damage here and there. Damage done by a Raptor or a single Viper shot. You know, it's not necessarily big chunks getting deployed here, but we have 30 seconds left for that to happen, and there is a Luma connecting. A nice push from that Raptor lives for Bot into the Luma arrow, and it's really up to Turbo to survive getting hit here for the next 25 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, you can see him using that shield not just for the actual block, but also for all the drop blocking afterwards. They take another Viper shot! That's gonna bring him down to the red in the last 15 seconds here. Oh.
Yeah.
And that charge hammer actually being used to take out the shield, too.
The chip damage by Bot sets them apart just a little bit more. One Viper shot away could have set things up, but Bot survives, and Turbo goes down another game. Bot now a game away from taking this series. What's the predicted move here, Cap? Is it any sort of loadout swap, or I mean, what has to change for Turbo?
Well, I think Turbo is gonna change, even if he doesn't do a loadout swap, just to maybe get a bit of latency advantage, because Bot has been the favored side already. But if I was Turbo, I know I keep on saying this, but what's really good against double Vipers is HP Nova. You push your opponent back, they can't kind of control where they are. It just kind of stops aggression in its track. So either maybe no loadout swap or HP Nova coming in. With that said, whether he actually does it or not, I'm not sure, because this is what I told him to do against Peters, which was, again, the closest match we had yesterday. And he didn't as well. So, you know, which way he goes is
the guessing game, yeah.
Yeah. Now, here's the other thing, Kat. Do you think this loadout swap might be a mistake? That Turbo might be overcompensating? Because those matches were all really, really, really close. Do you think that he could end up swapping to something that actually favors him less?
The thing is, Turbo's strength isn't necessarily one build. He's just very good at reading and kind of guiding his opponents into stepping into his Viper Ellipse shots. I think as long as he keeps Viper Ellipse in his build, he's always going to have the potential to kill people. I've played against Turbo a lot. He's a really fun person to play against. But he just kind of... He's a very cerebral player in that he's very good at predicting stuff, rather than, you know, me, who uses my long arms and just kind of throws myself and try and be as quickly as possible, or 2-4, who's amazing at dodging, although Turbo is 20 amazing at dodging. So I think so long as he's got, you know, stuff he can use to trick his opponents, mainly kind of ellipse weapons in there, any changes are probably going to work out for him. I don't think he's going to be punished necessarily by changing, especially if he goes HP Nova, as I said.
Yeah, and we'll have to see, because, I mean, the Health Nova was doing what, you know, Turbo, I would imagine, intended for it to do, you know, actually forcing Bot to pay attention and get rid of it. I mean, but he was getting rid of it fairly easily. So, I mean, we've seen Health Nova run a lot. We've seen how much it favors, you know, especially in this Oops All DPS world. But do you think that we're going to see Health Novas the further we go along into these finals?
I think we will see it. I think someone's probably going to end up running against me eventually, just because I keep talking about it and they want to shut me up. But it's good against Double Viper. So if we see more Double Vipers get to finals, then yeah. But currently in the winners bracket, we have JJ and 24, who can both play Double Viper, as evidenced by my game against 24 and previous games against Josie. They more favor kind of bullet hell strategic loadouts. So I think it depends on who goes through. If Bot goes through, then I think in the winners bracket we might see HP Nova, because he's a Double Viper player. Turbo goes through, Probably not, because he doesn't really run double Vipers that much. So it really is about who you're facing and who you're trying to go up against.
Yeah. Yeah, and getting into this room and looking at these loadouts, it looks like Turbo is going to be sticking with that Cortex shield, but I no longer see a Luma. And I believe that the swap was made for the Hammer Ellipse, which is actually going to increase the cooldown of this build by quite a bit.
He's gone Bullet Hell, which also counters double Viper.
Yeah.
Do you believe that we are into a hardware timeout? One of these players is adjusting their controller. Hopefully it is all repaired soon enough and they can get the batteries or whatever they need to strap back on, and hopefully it's nothing too drastic. And we won't have to have any Very Hungry Cat one-handed gameplay here this afternoon. It's not something that you want to have happen when you're into the postseason, so we'll have to wait and see. I am still seeing that hand dangling, though, from Turbo. I wonder what happened in the process. I wonder if they did, hit it against something when they were dodging, or who knows? Maybe they're just holding something else in that hand. They're not holding the controller yet. But curious to see what happens here, what the solution is going to be, and if they can get it fixed. I think it's back. I think their hand's back in control for them.
We might have to keep an eye on it, but it looks like we can continue forward. I think the funniest part about Very Hungry Cat is once they did eventually get their controllers fixed, all I could hear from him was, I have no idea how to play with two hands again.
Really mastering the art of juggling, huh?
Yeah, truly. And I mean, sadly, we didn't get to see him very far in the bracket, but just the change-ups with the straight Viper, somehow managing to put a curve on it despite the lack of curve. But jump into this match now and see if those weapon swaps are going to pay off for Turbo here.
Ooh, well, it seems it did. Turbo with a nice opening here on Bot. A good start for things to come. A big, a big couple of bits of damage they needed to really get things going momentum-wise, because they had lost a bunch of rounds, a bunch of games in a row, and that's certainly a tough pill to swallow. But as we see now, a bit of a opening for Turbo. They continue to put that pressure on, and they've got a nice lead here before even that first minute mark. Oh!
And just bopping him right on the head, too.
Yep. Big Viper Ellipse coming in there. And another one connecting onto Bot. Turbo, very different style here coming in to kick things off with round one.
Yeah, and you can see Bot actually trying to use the nade to drop block there, but mistimes it very, very slightly and doesn't quite manage to get it. Turbo didn't take any damage from that push right there. It ended up being Bot taking more damage just from the reaction alone.
I didn't see the Cortex shield come in there either, but maybe that's something that's allowing Turbo a little bit more confidence in this effort right now, as they absolutely slam away onto Bot. Raptor Ellipses, Viper Ellipses, everything connecting. And again, before the first minute mark, Turbo has a very comfortable lead.
Yep. Now it's Bot's turn to try and close the gap here, but especially when the only tools that they really have that seem to be working are the Viper and the Viper Ellipse. It's going to be kind of hard to set up a combo here that's going to change up things enough.
Great
managed
zoning.
to hold on, though.
Yeah, really good zoning from Turbo. But to your point, Bot survives with a sliver of health. A Viper Connect would be good to start things for Bot, but instead it's that sliver of health chipped away. And in a very different sort of series there, Turbo absolutely turns the tides, takes a game, and we go to our first Game 5 here this afternoon. Cap, I mean, that swap looked like a very different series there, a very different Turbo.
I think this just shows that despite quite a few people's complaints at the start of this meta, I've actually noticed this a lot. Every time we get an update, everyone goes, the new update has brought out this particular loadout. And then about a week or two in, people go, oh no, Bullet Hell still counters that. Because Bullet Hell does counter double Vipers. Yeah. Turbo's just able to stay at the back of his podium, focus on dodging, and those waves of bullets are going to do the rest. So, unfortunately for Bot, he doesn't have an opponent like me who's willing to just match his build and have aggression. Again, thank you, 24. But I like the change. I don't think Turbo's going to change anything up here. I think that Bot's ideal change for this would be to bring a Hurricane 1.
Okay.
And use that to put pressure on the back of the podium. And in combination with a hammer. Just to try and force him up.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. You know, that Hurricane also kind of gets over the Aegis Shield. And obviously, unless you throw the Aegis Shield up and at it, that Aegis Shield was being utilized on a much more different sort of level with that bullet hell to sort of deny that bullet spread, deny any of those potential Viper ellipses from coming in. And so we'll have to see, I guess, what that, if that Hurricane would be enough to kind of disrupt the overall footing. And to your point, the ability to stay in the back, right? The Hurricane is a great tool to zone and sort of push your opponent to the forward space of their play space.
I think, though, what we are going to see in this, I'll just make a quick prediction, next game, final game of this match, we haven't seen it yet today, is that I reckon Bot is going to run into Turbo's play space and do about 90 damage by hitting with a Hammery and a Viper. Or at least he's going to try to, and Turbo should know to watch out for this. But let me tell you, when it happens to you, you don't realize it's happened until you're dead.
Yeah.
Really scary.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you really have to expect that it's going to happen before it even happens. And I mean, into essentially game 5 of the set, that might be quite difficult for Turbo to predict. I definitely think we're going to see it at some point. If nothing else, then Bot finishing off the set by doing that just to concede. I do think that we are still waiting on our room code right now. It does look like there was another equipment damaged, Bot's little string that keeps the controller on his hand. So although that isn't going to prevent him from actually using it, it might prevent him from throwing it across the entire room itself.
Yeah, not ideal. If you do need, peripherals or attachments, we have a couple of good sponsors. You can check out VR Cover. They provide you with great comfort cushions for your headsets that'll help improve, your ability to play longer. And then obviously, Kiwi Design. I think they've been involved in tournaments in the past with Blaston, but they have a lot of, not only those sort of controller covers if you do end up chucking it across the room to help it from breaking, but likely better straps as well. All of these, the third-party vendors do a great job of covering your needs for your headset and really offering, in my opinion, enhanced options over what you could be getting from the first-party store. Yeah. So do check those out if you have the chance. And obviously, we shout out to HyperX, who does come in and help provide hardware to our prize pool and obviously support us with fantastic products like this for the casting team, like the HyperX Quadcast S. Really good stuff. I highly recommend this mic. It's an easy recommendation for me, and I think they've just come out with a white one that I do hope to have on display in future casts, so keep an eye peeled for that as well. I'm looking forward to that, but we do have a new code. We do have a new lobby ready to go. Let's see what the changes are for what will be the final game of this series. Both players tied 2 games apiece.
Yeah, and I think that, we might see a return to form from Turbo, but I really think that we're going to see the weapon swap coming from Bot. I think that Turbo's pretty much settled in. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, although that could definitely change. And yeah, on the topic of peripherals, if you're willing to spend the money on VR and you're really getting into this and you're still operating off of that, jank little elastic headset, trust me, there is a significant quality of life increase that is available for you for the low price of I have no idea. But I can tell you that your back and your neck will thank you for the additional support, especially over longer periods of gaming.
Yep, absolutely agree. It is, again, do look out for those, our sponsors, the other options for comfort for your headsets. They really do help. But also, while we have some downtime before our next round, a shout out to everyone tuning in. This is live on Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, Horizon venues, worlds, wherever you can find a broadcast, it's there. I haven't had the opportunity to check this out in Worlds, but I have put out the call to action that anybody that does have the ability to go to Worlds, I want to know where this content lives in that platform and where you can find it, because so far I haven't had the chance to explore it, but I know it's there. I know it's somewhere in the metaverse to be had. I also do know that if you do download the Venues app on your Quest or Quest 2, you can enjoy the action in Venues on a big screen TV with other people in VR. It's a very cool way to enjoy that action. And we are just about ready to get into our next game. What are the loadout swaps we're seeing here?
He brought it. He brought the Tundra, my baby. My baby boy. All right. I've got a very specific call out here because very early on when I played bot, when I actually could still beat bot, I showed him the secrets of the Tundra, and specifically the ability for you to trigger that sound effect without actually firing the weapon. And I think that that's what we're going to see here, that in combination with the rest of the bullet hell, to try and really get Turbo moving into as many bullets as physically possible without having to worry too much about the shield.
Is the secret you just tap the trigger repeatedly?
Yeah, actually.
No, it's terrifying to play against, though. You completely gave me PTSD from just hearing the Tundra charge non-stop. I was just, when is it coming?
Yeah, especially once you condition your opponent, because usually, it's very similar actually to the Luma, which we've seen a lot of play. However, the Luma has the benefit of a smaller projectile and actually, I think, slightly more health on the projectiles. You could pretty much look at a Tundra projectile and have it completely eliminated. But yeah, just being able to have that little bit of space and maybe deny some additional aggression here from Turbo as we get into round 1 of our final match of this set.
Final match of the set, not of the day. We got 2 more games after this. 1 more winners bracket, 1 elimination. So a lot of Blaston, well, not a lot, but some Blaston left ahead of you. It's been a long day of good Blaston action, and well, like we said, this is the final game of this series, so certainly expecting a good battle here. We've seen a couple of, round 3s so far. I don't really expect that to change. The Tundra comes in, Turbo dodges every shot, but still, seems to be in the lead.
But you can see, too, Bot really just keeping that trigger, just tapping it, even if he's not going to use the full Tundra shot, just to disrupt Turbo and mess with him a little bit, the psychological plays.
Yeah, really trying to throw off the timing there. That Tundra does come in quick, and you have to be ready to dodge no matter where it's coming from. There's a nice bit of shield work to avoid that hammer and dodge the Viper Ellipse at the same time. The full spread coming in from the Wildcat, and Bot doing a great job of dodging.
Yeah.
Oh,
definitely
there's
have
a big
good
combo.
question for Cap after this, especially since it seems like, despite very clearly going for a bullet hell build, Bot has still decided to go for the quicker variant of the hammer. Woo! He tried! No! Bot, you had the lead! You had the lead, Bot! What are you doing?
Called it. I called it. I knew that was going to happen.
You did, but why, Bot? Why? Why did you do that, Bot?
Well, it doesn't work out. Ends up throwing away the round.
No, it really doesn't.
Turbo comes right back into this. This is series point right here. Turbo opens things up, Bot down to half HP. There's no chance. Well, there is a chance here, but Bots definitely start things off bad in the first 30 seconds. Turbo really doing a nice job of avoiding that challenge from Bot, and Bot really kind of, again, maybe throwing away what could have been a round 1 W.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he could have really closed out the set if he wanted to. Just, I would have told you, if he would have actually managed to land that, we would have been saying something completely different. But, that's a very, very, very risky maneuver.
Turbo now in the back minute still has the lead. Does a little bit more chip damage on the Bot and able to shield most of that Tundra presence. So a good job avoiding the attack. Turbo stays alive, stays healthy. and with 45 seconds is again just a round away from taking this series W. They'll be advancing on. Bot will be moving down into the losers bracket as that shield does shut down a good chunk of that initial bullet spread setup, and the push forward ends up hurting them maybe more than helping.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, you know, if they had another round's worth of time, I could definitely see them using the Tundra to bait out the shield and try and get it to pop far before he's actually planning on using it. But now with 15 seconds left on the clock, things are not looking good.
Dodges the Wildcat. Turbo has all the health in the world to survive any sort of attack from Bot, and they are going to weather this storm. They'll take round 2, and Bot will go down to the losers bracket, but a great series to tune into nonetheless.
Yeah, fantastic. And again, if he would have managed to land that, you know, maybe we'd be singing a different tune, but especially when he had such a huge lead and it seemed like he was only going to continue it. Self-destructing like that. Yeah, self-destructing like that isn't always the best option.
I think the most charitable I'll be is it would have been considered a flex if they land it. I actually talked to Bot because before we had a dropout, I was due to play him. And I told him, and this is absolutely true, that I've been practicing it playing in the garden, which is harder to do, so that I had space to run away from him if he tried that on me. And then we got into a real big game theory of what the best approach to do was that and how to chase and whether he should chase and then run back to his podium or not. But, you know, I actually warned Turbo before this match, like a while ago, just don't forget that he will try that at least. Okay, whatever. Don't forget that. And thankfully he didn't. But yeah, I think Bot bringing the Tundra was a really good play, and it caught Turbo off guard round 1. He should have waited till round 2 before doing the charge. I think you're absolutely right with that.
Yeah, absolutely, because it seemed like as soon as he pulled the Tundra out, it was pretty much causing Turbo to pop his shield. And again, like I kind of said during that last round, if he had much more time, then that would have been very good information to know, and that could have actually led to more of the bullet hell getting through. But yeah, no, sadly, you know, still a very, very, very well played set from both of these two. But yeah, that definitely hurt me on the sidelines.
Take a look at the brackets here as we do get down to our final 2 games. Kronster and Montyban is up next. The winner of that will be going up against Turbo. And then we wrap things up in the afternoon of this afternoon with Heritage and Tim. And the winner of that advancing through to the losers bracket. So 2 more games left on the docket. You can see we've gone through quite a handful already in this tournament over the course of this weekend. It has been a lot of good games, a lot of 3-0s when you do look back on it. But I mean, if you think about, for example, the battle we just saw, even in the 3-2, you know, you could have 1-1 rounds. You can have these close battles in these 3-0s, despite them sort of being one-sided like that. And so, you know, if anything, I'm looking more and more forward to the deeper rounds, 2 rounds, 3, the losers rounds 2 and 3. You know, next weekend is going to be very exciting with a lot of games ahead of us. So, you know, there's still plenty of postseason left if you did miss a lot of the games this weekend. So don't feel like you're out of luck just yet, because again, there is a lot of action, and again we do have 2 more games left today, so we're not even quite done yet as we do get ready to jump into our next lobby. Again, that is Montyban and Kron Master, so or Kronster, and you know, just as we get into the lobby, what do we see in loadouts from these 2?
Oh, Monty. Picked up the
Monty.
So Kronstar's going Bounce Viper, Viper Ellipse. This is because me and Kron actually talked about this, and we tested whether Viper or Bounce Viper was faster, and they're the same speed. A lot of people think that Viper is faster. No difference. You shoot them both at the same time, they'll go the same distance. There might be a slight boost at the start from Viper, but then Viper Bounce catches up. So Kronstar's kind of going bullet hell double Vipers. 4 of the weapons are bullet hell, 2 of the weapons are double Vipers. He wants to put a big shield of bullets, wall of bullets, and then put pressure on you while you're trying to dodge. Monty is gone Lance Rapide. I used to love this player. Obviously, that's changed in the last 10 seconds because he brought Lance. It's a very interesting, funky build. He's got Drill Hammer. He's got Charge Hammer, Lance Rapide. He's going to put down 3 Lances, and then he's going to put down... so 3 Lances making a triangle, putting Corona in the middle of the podium, and he's going to toss up a Hammernade and follow up with 2 hammers and try and basically just wave the Viper Ellipse at him and hit him with Raptor Ellipse. That's how I think we play it.
Well, rounds are unfolding. We'll see how close Cap is on the predictions. Out the gate, Monty does a good job of avoiding. He has to deploy that Aegis shield to avoid that bullet spread, but they do it nicely. And there is that triangle set up to try and trap Monty into the hammer nade. And yeah, really good bit of damage coming in there onto Kron to open things up. And a nice job and a nice setup from Monty to at least kick things off. But uh-oh, was that an out of bounds bit of damage? Yeah, it looked like it.
Out of bounds, yeah. And there wasn't really much on the field even. It's just Monty's really trying to stay to the back of the play area, being able to dodge all the Vipers and Viper Ellipses, but one of them still manages to land, but he does have his combo up, so we'll see.
Oh, there's a full drill nade to the side. Beautiful setup from Monty. But Kronstar prioritizing dealing damage versus taking it. And again, you know, a battle of punches. Kronstar throwing the bigger blows ends up getting that round 1.
I gotta say, you know, it's the Blaston nerd in me for sure, but I am super excited at how much we're seeing Drill Nade today. I didn't really expect to see Drill Nade at all, but I think that players have kind of found a use for it now.
Powerful tool if you can trap your opponent well enough into a bit of a, you know, a controlled environment. If you can really zone them properly, then we're seeing it hit to big effect. And there's a nice Viper Ellipse finally tagging Kronster. Monty needed one of those to get things going for them in this series. And well, now they've got the lead in round 2. Not for long.
Yeah. Yep, prepping the combo. Here we go. He didn't have the hammer nade last time, but I think he's gonna get the full thing this time. Ooh, okay. Monty does the right thing, steps forward to get out of the way of it.
Yep. Nice job there. The Viper Ellipses don't connect either, and so Kronster now has the opportunity to apply the pressure. See the bounce shots, the double Viper coming into play here as Monty does their best to dodge that, but ultimately that double Viper not necessarily hitting right now as that hammer nade ends up forcing Monty or Kronster into some big damage from the rest of the bullets.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, he keeps swapping up, he doesn't really swap up the position of the lasers, but just by swapping up the position of the actual hammer nade itself, he's able to put a bit of uncertainty into Kronster's mind about where exactly it's going to be going.
Nice shield work there and drop blocking to avoid these bounce shots from playing too much of an impact. They can't quite avoid the Wildcat, though. Kronster nearly comes back into this one, but here comes the full attack again from Monty. The drill nade to the back forces Kronster to the front. They managed to avoid the Viper shots, and for now, I think Kronster I can't tell who has the lead here. They're a bullet away from either one taking it, though.
Oh, I think it's going to be Kronster. No, it's going to be Monty.
Wow.
Man,
I mean,
off of a liver.
Yeah, 1
that
HP.
Could be an equal HP.
Oh, okay.
Equal.
Wow. Incredible.
Well, game 1 of the winners bracket. Tie into rounds to start things off. This is what I was talking about. Just because those 3-0s happen doesn't mean there wasn't good battles to be had in those. And so right now we are seeing a good battle, good dodge there of that nade to right in front of their face. If that had connected, that would have been devastating to Kronster. But both players equal on health right now. Neither one connecting much on their offensive rollout.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think a good portion of that is just Kronster is really focusing on baiting out those nades to the back of the podium. That way he can dodge forward. It seems counterintuitive, but sometimes it's much easier to bait back and then... Oh, and actually he manages the grab there, too. Takes a little bit of damage from the Lance R from it, though.
I do like seeing that Lance work, doing a good job of like it is like a trap, kind of you know, not allowing your opponents to move outside of a set space. Really good tool for zoning. And ooh, that was an interesting weapon toss. They threw it into a Viper ellipse shot that ends up blocking it from coming through early. And so overall, a good job of Kronster avoiding the threat of that zone. And Monty's still doing a good job of dodging.
Yeah. Yeah, Monty went ahead and grabbed that. Ooh, okay, we got another combo. Ooh. Depending on where that nade's popping too, it could have a different trajectory towards Kronster, even if they manage to bait it. And so having to look out for it and see where it is taking away a bit of his attention, but Monty gets hit with another, with a bounce Viper shot, not a Viper ellipse. That's important.
Back to setup, pushing into the front of the zone. The Viper ellipse doesn't connect. Monty doing their best to zone and push Kronster into the big damage, but Kronster doing a good job of getting familiar with Monty's style here. And ooh, that charged hammer almost tagged Kronster big time, but as the time ticks down, Kronster takes game one.
Yeah, those matches were all very, very close.
I love both these players. Honestly, I absolutely Monty I absolutely love because he was the top bullet hell player. They're both very new to the game, but he could have been stuck doing bullet hell, but instead he basically took Tesseract's advice as the #1 EU player of all time, and just tries to mix it up, tries these new weird builds, which most new players would never try and do. No one's really that brave, especially in a match like this. And I've never actually seen myself, I wasn't rooting for either player because I'm big fans of Kronstar too. But he made Lance Rapide into a really interesting build, which didn't just rely on putting 5 Lancers down with the combined of the normal Lance. I think Monty's going to get off this and go to Bullet Hell, and just bring in a Hammery. Maybe he will keep the Viper E, but I fully expect Hammerade, Hammery, the Wildcat, Raptory, Shield, plus something. That's my guess. Might not get.
So another thing too, because obviously Lances are pretty flexible. They can be used in a lot of different ways. And one of the ways they can be used is to shut down a lot of aggression. Do you think that if Kronster keeps with the double Viper, very aggressive, very DPS-centric build, that Monty might still have the Lance R on his loadout and then roll the rest of the loadout with a normal bullet hell build?
I think it's too expensive to do that. You got to remember that Lance R is it's 9 seconds.
Yep.
Oh, I was 100% right.
You go.
Always feels good to be right on the desk.
Yeah, it does. And yeah, no, Kronstar hasn't really done much with games. Yeah, I think we'll actually witness Monty Band's Bullet Hell. What you guys might forget is that these guys have played before in VRML in an international challenge match in which it went through 5 games with Monty Band closing it out 3-2. And very much similar builds from both players that we see now. Obviously, Hammerade was slow Hammerade back then. But with the buffs to Kronstar's build and the nerfs to slow Hammerade, will that make a difference?
Well, we're about to find out. Indeed. Getting into round number 1 of game number 2 here between Kronster and Monty. Kronster obviously off to a good start with that game 1 win. Monty trying something here, trying to shake things up, trying to throw Kronster off their game with a good bullet hell spread. The Viper ellipse is not quite connecting there, and so far both players, I was about to say it, survive the Viper attack, but Monty ends up taking one.
That was pretty brutal, especially because Monty threw out most, if not all, of the main part of their combo, and Kronster is still looking at 100% health.
Yeah, they haven't taken a single slice of damage yet, and ooh, there is a Viper ellipse connecting onto Monty again. Big damage coming through there for Kronstar, and Monty having a tough time dealing much of anything. They did manage to at least land 1 or 2 bits of maybe weapon toss damage on the Kronstar at this point, but they still have a minute left, about half the round to go, so Kronstar still has a lot of time, or Monty still has a lot of time to work with. As I say that, not so much time anymore.
That's what we call the caster's curse, baby. And Kronstar's gonna go ahead and take round 1. Oh man, yeah. I mean, Monty's getting all these proper setups, but you know, I think really at the end of the day, Kronstar's been playing against bullet hell for the entire time that, you know, we've been playing VRML. And I think that he's just learned exactly what he needs to do and where he needs to stand in order to dodge most, if not all, of the damage that Monty's putting out here.
Double Viper coming in. Good job from Monty to avoid the threat. But yeah, Kronstar, again, barely taking any damage in these opening 30 seconds. So that means that they've dodged all of this bullet hell spread that Monty keeps throwing at them, which is, again, very impressive to say the least. And so, as I say it, they do take one. They 360 their way around the nade, but they ultimately do take a hit from one of those Viper shots, and now Monty has the lead.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, again, with this bullet hell, it can be hard to even see those bullets, much less actually find a place to dodge them without taking a ton of damage in return. So, I mean, the fact that Monty's only taken this much damage, and I mean, same with Kronstar, is still very, very impressive.
There from Kron to again avoid the bullet cell, trying to get the double Viper out. A nice denial of the nade from Monty keeps them in the lead here as we go into the back minute of round number 2. A good shutdown of a nade there too. That could have been bad news.
We've got some tactical jazz hands coming out here from Kronstar.
You avoid, you're dodging bullets that way, okay?
Exactly. Disrupting your opponent's field of vision with tactical jazz hands.
Trying to put the Wildcat.
Monty's been getting really close with these Viper shots too, so this definitely isn't on him. I really think that this is just Kronstar knowing that weapon inside and out, and thus knowing how to play against it as well as how to play it himself.
Good dodge work. Monsty has the lead. 1 or 2 big bullet chunks away from getting separated here, but Monty does take round 2 in game 2. Not letting this one get out of hand just yet. Kronstar obviously a round away from pushing this up to a nice solid 2-game lead, but now Monty could equally tie this up if they can string something together nice here, and they certainly do open up good with a good bit of damage onto Kronstar.
Ooh, and Kronstar goes ahead and fires back. All the damage so far in this game has been dealt with the Raptor Ellipse from both sides. And I think that these two players are really starting to learn each other's methodologies and how to get around them.
Oh, that was a nice step back. Good dodge, avoiding the nade, dodging the ellipses. And as I said, if they do take one, that may put Monty closer or back into the lead. As I say that, trip damage comes through. Kronstar regathering that lead confidently, but still so much time in this round to be had. It really is going to come down to who can survive the onslaught, and Kronstar doing a tough job of just that. Does continue to apply the pressure from the floor with the help of that Viper, though, and so able to weather the storm, maintain the lead, and then apply the pressure again to Monty, which doesn't do a lot.
Yeah, and even though the double Viper is, of course, in play, most of the damage has come through on the Raptor Ellipse and the Wildcat from both sides. So, you know, Kronstar really needs to be getting these big hits.
Oh, man. Kronstar getting hit big instead. Almost tries to, really reaching out there for that Viper Ellipse to hit, but you have to really arc that Viper Ellipse to hit to the back side of the arena, and, Monty's doing a good job of staying under the back side of the arena, and, again, dishing it out as Kronstar takes big damage. Monty may take game number 2 here. They're just a slice away from getting it, and Kronstar does dodge, does rebound, does put back some shots on him. One Viper shot could have put them back into it. And, oh, no! The hand on the floor as they try and move around ends up catching a bullet. Monty takes the game number 2.
Man, and he tried to reach for that Viper to try and get one last shot off in the last couple seconds, and Monty just managed to get there a little bit sooner.
So one thing to note is that there was a change from Kronstar between match 1 and match 2, which I think might get reverted, is that he did change from Viper bounce to normal Viper.
Mm.
Right.
And so I feel that having that bounce, just, if you shoot it straight, it opens you up to having another shot at getting that on the back wall. Plus, the reason I brought against 24 is if people are dropping to the floor to dodge, which Monty's very adept at, you bounce it off the floor, it's very hard for them to get out the way, because if they jump up to try and get out the way of a low shot, it'll just bounce back up and hit them. But one thing I just want to say both players are doing really well is that they are interrupting each other's combos. They are really putting it on, because if you let either of these players just do what they want to without putting pressure on them, they will have a perfect bullet hell combo on you. But both of them are stopping that.
Yeah.
And and speaking of bullet hell, Cap, so you talked about it very, very briefly as we got into this round that prior to this last patch, it would be slow hammer-nade on this build that Monty's running, and now Monty is running the burst hammer. So what do you think the reasoning is for that, especially considering that vanilla hammer-nade, which is sort of a happy medium between those two, continues to be a fairly viable option?
It is viable, but we like our shiny attachments. But no, I mean, the reason is that burst hammer-nade is very good for consistent chip damage. Now, if you don't look at it, it's going to hit you. It does 50% more damage than standard hammer-nade. And that's really what bullet hell is about. And now that you can't just create a wall of bullets to get the perfect clamp with slow hammer-nade, or not nearly as well, you're looking to either replace it, you're not going to go drill, so it's between stock hammer and fast hammer-nade, which does more damage. And while the speed is a detriment in bullet hell, because you actually want pellets to be on the stage as long as possible, I think the additional damage just means it's doing 50% more damage, and you're wearing down your opponent over time. I wouldn't be surprised though. You do bring up a good point. Some players might start going back to the stock hammer-nade, but since the attachments came in, it's not like, for example, Luma, which stock is considered very good. Everyone just thinks that there's no point in running hammer-nade on its own. I don't think I've seen anyone run hammer-nade on its own, unless they were grinding for the hammer-nade attachment.
Into the races we go for round number 1 of game 3 here. Trying to set one of these apart as a leader, but so far it's been a really good battle back and forth, and we are seeing, I'm not sure exactly the swap for...
You know what? I think Cap called it again. I think it was that bounce Viper for the stock Viper.
Interesting. Well, let's see if it ends up being enough to trick the likes of Monty and get Kronstar back into this one, but for now, Kronstar and Monty both, again, doing a lot of dodge work to open things up and really avoiding the onslaughts in the first 30 seconds.
Ooh. Well, they almost do, but that was a very good turn from Monty there with the bullet hell. Manages to get about a quarter of Kronstar's health bar to himself.
See that Aegis shield coming up, helping to deny those Raptor ellipses from doing much impact, and at the same time doing a good bit of dodge work to avoid the full bullet spread. Monty also still applying the pressure while this is all going on, and Kronstar taking a good bit of chip damage.
Ooh. Shield going up and getting rid of that nade. That was honestly a pretty high priority item, so that was a very good play from him. And despite these double Vipers being Kronstar's savior during this first match, it doesn't seem like he's really been able to land many over the past 2 rounds, or the past 2 matches, really.
Yeah, maybe it's just Monty sort of figuring out the cadence and the rhythm of how this attack gets rolled out, and these players are familiar with the style of how they play, right? They throw things out in a certain way, and if you can kind of get used to it and determine how they like to play, then you can counter it. There's a lot more than just execute and do well. There's a lot of mind games that are going into a regular match at this level, and so we go down to time. We don't even get either one of these players to half health, and Monty takes the round.
Yeah. wild stuff. And again, Kronster, whose build is mostly focused on doing these big chunks of damage, not really managing to land too much on Monty at all.
You know, now that I think about it, that may be the record for least amount of damage done in a game that we've tuned into so far in this postseason.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. And although Bot and Turbo was absolutely close, I think that this actually might even be a little bit closer here, just purely due to how much these two are denying each other's builds.
Yeah, here comes the double Viper, but no success landing those shots for Kron. Monty does not have the lead here, though, and so for now, we could be going into a round 3 if Kron can maintain this. It's a big ask, as there's still a lot of time on the clock, but they do have themselves into an advantageous position here. They have the opportunity of the double Viper to throw at Monty if they do end up losing that pressure, and so it's all a matter of continuing to apply it here. As they do, Kronster chips a little bit more onto Monty.
Yeah, and Monty's doing a really good job now that he's recognized the swap for the bounce Viper. Not only looking behind him, but also keeping that shield even after he uses it for the potential drop block. Monster manages to extend that lead a little bit further with some chip damage from the Raptor Ellipse, but Monty's gonna go ahead and land another Viper Ellipse shot in the last 30 seconds here. They're gonna take a little bit out of bounds damage too, but they're gonna maintain their lead. Ooh, Kronster rolls, tactical roll on the floor.
Tactical, but was it enough to keep them in it here? Right now, Monty has the lead. Right now, no. Trades back and forth.
5 seconds left.
Trades back and forth just barely, and Monty is going to take game number 3.
Oh man, and Kronster really tried to do as much damage as they possibly could in the last seconds there, but it came down to that last Viper Ellipse shot, and sadly, Monty managed to just deftly dodge that one. Yeah, Cap, what do you think? What's our analysis for that match? What does Kronster need to be doing?
The only thing I can really think of is maybe bringing in a Hurricane 1 to get Monty off the back. Monty's just sticking at the back and doing Monty dodging, which a lot of people have compared Monty to 24 and the fact he's going to come out of nowhere and then done loads of bullet hell. I wouldn't say they have a similar playstyle or identical playstyles, but they're both phenomenal at dodging. And really, dodging is the number one skill you need to be a top level player. So what Kraun needs to do is bring something that's going to get Monty off that back line, get him closer to Kraun, and make it easier to land those shots. So obviously I'm a big fan of Hurricane 1 this season, especially because I think it's bugged and it's doing more damage than it should. It does 14 damage, should only do 12. Big fan of that change, by the way.
Yeah, and we did see some of those techniques coming out from Monty, especially right at the end of that last match, you know, specifically looking at the bullets as they go by, making sure that he's sitting at the back of his play area. I mean, outside of just dodging and making sure to deny as much damage from Kronster as possible. I mean, what else do you think that he was doing right? I mean, obviously his bullet hell somehow between game 1 and now all of a sudden is a lot more effective.
Well, it was definitely more effective than game 1 because he didn't run it. But no, his bullet hell is really phenomenal. And I mean, I think it really comes down to he's got the clamp kind of mastered, right? He knows how to move the hammer in a direction which is going to hit the podium, make it hard for the opponent to dodge. But like in that last match, he used a shield at the start to try and stop a Viper bounce shot, and he had 25 damage off the start of on the start of the last round, and yet still won on health just because it went through the Aegis shield, that little hole in the middle.
Yeah.
I think this is really on Kraun to create enough pressure on Monty to make him either come to the front or make mistakes. So what I'd also like to see from Kraun is just as soon as Monty shoots that first Hammerade shot, that's when you go to the front. That's when you start putting pressure on him. That's when you try and make the first hammer shot. That's when you try and make the second hammer shot a bit off balance, maybe go the wrong way. And that way you kind of taking pressure off yourself, removing the chip damage you're going to face.
Right.
I don't
Right.
see
Well,
many.
we're gonna get our look at our loadouts here, and it looks like I can't necessarily see anything specific to call out. I think this may have just been a host swap, because I'm still seeing the hammer lips and the double viper coming out from Kronster, and Monty
I think
still has
Monty's
that
hosted
hammer
every
lip.
game.
Actually, you know what? I think that Monty got rid of that charge hammer, didn't he?
I don't even
Monty
remember.
already got rid of
I'm
it.
trying to work out what he wouldn't have had though, because he had Raptor Ellipse. Did he have Wildcat before?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, that'd be it. But no, there's been no host swaps. Monty's hosted every game, which if he loses, I think this game, I encourage him to ask Kronstar to host.
We'll have to see as we are getting ready to dive into the action for game number 4 of our final winners bracket match. We have one more game after this, and so there is still some Blaston action ahead if you did miss all of it today, in which case you missed a good 3.5 hours so far of high-quality Blaston, and I do say high quality because it has been very entertaining to tune into here this afternoon. Kronstar's going to open things up with a little bit of a Raptor Ellipse damage to get them into an early lead.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, Kronster's up against the wall here. He's not going to be kicked out entirely if he loses this match, but he will be in a much less favorable position from the loser's lounge. Ooh, and a very nice drop block from Monty there as he starts to get into his first real push. But doesn't manage to get too much.
A big risk from Kronstar taken there to deny that hammer nade. They ended up redirecting it just in time. We've seen hammer nades end rounds before, so big risk to be taken to reach out there to try to redirect.
Yep, they're both going to be pushing at the same time. Kronster's going to take a bit of damage from the bullet hell. And Monty, again, really focusing on those Vipers. Ooh, does end up taking a Raptor Ellipse shot, but Viper shots are going to be doing a whole lot more damage, so I'd rather take a Viper Ellipse shot than a I'd rather take a Raptor Ellipse shot than a Viper Ellipse shot any day.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, Monty here off to the races, not looking so good as Kronster does take a lead into the 30 seconds we go. Not a lot of damage dealt, though. Again, this may be even less damage dealt than the last round that we just had. If no one here connects, then we'll have to see. But the full bullet spread from Monty's coming in the left, right, top, bottom. They do connect on the Kronstar, chip away their HP, but not quite enough. 10 seconds left, and Kronstar still has the lead. A Raptor Ellipse connects. That's going to set them up for success. The Wildcat is fully dodged. The hammer is fully dodged. The Viper Ellipse, the Viper, the Raptor, none of it's connecting. Monty's going to take a round.
And you saw him not even taking a risk at the end there, making sure to drop block all of those Raptor Ellipse bullets that were headed his way. Didn't even want to see a single point of damage.
Crazy how little damage is being dealt between these two. You know, really a testament to both their dodge skill, I would have to say, than anything. And we're really just seeing these two getting very physical. I'm curious to see what the sweat levels are like on these, especially now as Monty finds themselves in a very tough position to come back in round 2.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sort of changes the mindset of both the players as well, especially since every single point of damage from the very beginning of the match is going to matter. They're not going to be taking too many risks. They're willing to take a little bit of damage here in order to avoid a much larger chunk of damage that might honestly at this point decide the match. But yeah, sadly, Monty, between stepping out of bounds and taking most of a hammer clamp, ending up very neatly in the red.
There's some good dodge work, though. Does avoid most of that hammer assault, and Kronstar ends up taking just a little bit. Little chip damage here and there, and the balanced Viper ends up tagging Monty in the back, and Kronstar is going to take that round off of health. First time in what seems like a while where we finish a round before that first minute.
Yeah, that was actually one of the first times in a while we saw the bounce Viper hit, too. I feel like it's been ages, but yep, Kronstar finally managing to get one through.
Opening where Kronstar takes the early lead, but it is very slight as Monty does a good job of being aware of that Viper bounce, dodges it while dodging the Raptor Ellipse. Definitely a tough 1-2 combo to avoid, but they do it, and as the setup comes in, it's really just attack and counterattack, trying to throw off your opponent as they try and step forward into the play space, and I think Kronstar is doing a good job of sort of disrupting Monty from really orchestrating something nice.
Yeah, there we go. All right, things are looking a little bit more even now. Monty did manage to apply some counter pressure with the double Vipers there. Ooh, a nice catch from Kronstar, who's going to return it back to sender. Ooh, and they're going to take a little bit of damage from the clamp. Every single little bit of damage here is really holding so much weight.
Especially as we are tied here around a piece into Game 4 with Monty potentially taking the series off of a win here. Kronstar obviously wanting to keep things alive, push this to a Game 5 if they can. But like you said, every little bit of damage matters, and there was a little bit of damage done to chunk down Kronstar. Monty has the lead now with 45.
Yeah, and it's honestly amazing how these two are taking so little damage, especially, you know, with the builds that these two are running. Bullet Hell and, you know, I double Viper, but also running the Hammer Ellipse. I mean, even dodging even a 1 or 2 bullets from that is very, very difficult.
Double Viper comes in, the drop block there, and Monty just trying to survive. 8 seconds left, and they take this series. They can't afford to take any damage. Kronstar takes a little bit more, and it is going to be Monty with the game and series win. Just by a slice of HP. Again, a low damage round there to finish things off. I mean, Cap, what's happening there? Why was it so low on the damage in that series?
It's because when you play Bullet Hell into double Viper, the Bullet Hell player can just afford to stay at the back of the podium and just dodge. And the double Viper player isn't being pressured as much as he might otherwise. So he can also, when the clamps come in, just focus on dodging quite a lot. And the other thing to recognize is both of these players are incredibly good at dodging and incredibly skilled. And if we had, you know, a Bullet Hell versus double Viper matchup with lower skilled players, probably over within 25 seconds, maybe from either side. I think it's just a testament to how good both those players are at dodging. And these are two of my favorite players to watch and play against. So I'm really happy that it was such a close, great game. But Monty Ban showing us that Bullet Hell is not dead by any means. If you can beat Kronstar with double Vipers, who is a phenomenal Viper player, then you can beat pretty much anyone.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, going back to those double Vipers too, I mean, especially in games 3 and 4, Kronstar managed to hit maybe 1 Viper bullet, just did overall across those 2 matches. So, I mean, from a player perspective, Cap, what do you do? Do you switch off of that? Do you try and find another weapon to be able to do your DPS? Or do you just stick to what you know and you hope for the best and you hope your opponent's going to run into 1 or 2 of those bullets at some point?
Well, I mean, if you're saying do you switch off double Vipers for a different DPS against Bullet Hell, I'd say that if you're comfortable with it, Luma is. I think it's a lot easier to hit people at the back of the stage with a Luma than it is with double Vipers. So your 2 options either is, as you say, you switch into a different weapon which has got more back of the podium aggression or pressure, or you switch into it. You keep the double Vipers and you work on putting pressure on the back of the podium, you know, making sure your clamps are just hitting the back, so you're forcing them to decide, am I going to stay at the back of the podium, or am I going to go to the front where I might get hit with double Viper? But ultimately, it's a comfort thing, because no player, apart from maybe Josie and Tesseract, can play any weapon and make it work. We all have weapons that we've put more time into, got more comfort into. I mean, everyone says full DPS build, a bit ridiculous, but the reason I run that build is because those are the weapons that I put the most time into. It's just the ones that feel most comfortable, despite it probably not being the best loadout overall. So, you know, in a perfect world, yeah, you'd switch to Luma, or you'd switch to something, put pressure on the back of the podium, but each player is just going to come into it and make a decision based on what suits their play style. And the way I make predictions on weapon swaps and stuff is also in a big part down to what I know about the player and what I know they're comfortable.
Right. All right. And I think that's the sound of our room going up. So I think we're going to be jumping into this in just a second.
Yes, indeed. We're going to get a look at our loadouts for our final match of the day. Heritage versus Tim 611, a loser's bracket match where one of these players will be eliminated from contention in the postseason championship. So the pressure is on, to say the least. And I mean, anything that stands out to you before we get into it, Cap, on the loadouts?
Tim's finally bringing HP Nova, which is what I thought he'd bring against me. So this is a build that against Tim that I specifically ranked for. It's kind of a mixture of bullet hell, counter pressure, and defense. Heritage's build, I think, is pretty much bang on what you run against JJ. It's good against offensive loadouts, and he's got those 2 nades. And the way he runs those nades, tries to throw them as close to you so that they explode and do instant damage next to you. And I mean, he could almost do. I'm not sure if you can still do 100% damage with a Nova slow hammer nade. I'm gonna let you guys take over.
Yeah, I gotta. If we let you theory craft all day, we'll miss out on a round. And a matter of fact, because we let Cap just talk about Blaston, we lose. We do no commentary go, and then Tim just wins. I'm kidding. I give you a great battle there. A very solid opening for Tim, to say the least. Heritage absolutely getting chipped apart in the opening here. Don't hear Oolong, unfortunately. Hopefully they can solve their tech issues that they're having there. But either way, into it we go. And maybe they don't hear us. We don't hear them.
There you are. We got you.
There
we got
go.
you.
Okay, we're back. We synced back up. Oolong returns, and Heritage continues to get peppered away by Tim here.
Right.
It really is the battle of Novas, as we see these, the Novas floating around here. Nova Nade, the Nova Health Novas, they're everywhere, so it seems, but a lot of zoning, it seems to be the goal here. The Hurricane, the Raptor Ellipse does slowly usher Heritage over to the corner, where eventually they do get tagged. And yeah, we're seeing some the collision of Novas, interestingly enough, but no diffusal of them because they're different HPs. They kind of go through each other, and Heritage unfortunately continues to take little bits and bobs of damage, where Tim is now just, a bullet away from taking the game 1.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting too, because that Nova nade just goes so fast, but it doesn't even seem like he's able to really toss nades out that much. There we go. The slow hammer nade does manage to land, but as does the weapon throw for Tim, and that's going to land him game 1.
Yes, indeed. We're going to go to a loadout swap, and at the risk of having Cap trail into another round. Cap, what are your thoughts on that series there?
I promise I'll stop when they load in. Okay, so just quickly, I beat Tim. Okay, yesterday. You all saw it. This is how
All
good
right.
this player is. I'm amazed that I beat him. I love playing him. He's a fantastic player, and he's showing that now. Loadout swap wise, I think it's kind of, I've said this enough times, against HP Nova, why not bring a collision hammer? Worst case scenario, you got a collision hammer when you're not against a HP Nova. Best case scenario, really big counter. So that's what I expect, probably from both players.
Okay.
Oh,
Well.
Tim's offering to host again. That is confidence right there. When you're playing Tim and he says, you can have latency advantage. It doesn't matter, mate.
Well, yeah, they're clearly feeling good and not necessarily threatened by what could. Oh, I just typed it in. What could be, I don't know, an interesting loadout swap against the likes of. Oh gosh, I gotta get this code right. Against the likes of Tim, but going into it, they are going to be accepting that potential risk of the latency, and And we're just kind of waiting to see what Heritage is going to do to kind of throw things up here, spice things up a little bit. Hopefully they don't throw anything up because we can't have that on stream. That wouldn't be good.
Well, and you know what? While we still have you, Cap, one last thing. So in the last patch in Reloaded, the Nova Nade actually got a huge buff to its speed. Now it is a really, really quick Nova Nade, and yet we still see players going for the extra spread Hammer Nade, and especially, you know, in the recent patch, going for the Lance Nade with the attachments and some other options. What do you think is the issue with Nova Nade, even with that pretty substantial buff?
I mean, it's a big buff, and it's very welcome to see because it needed a buff. But the difference is that the slow Hammer Nade does the same thing with more damage, and I think it might even be easier to time, to be honest. So if you're trying to do the throw a nade next to them and just pop them for a bunch of health, Nova Nade's capped at 30 HP. Hammer Nade does 15 times 4, so 60. And it used to be maybe 80. I don't actually know the exact figures. That's on me. So honestly, if I were to, you know, abduct Tilbert and force him to do what I want after I've deleted Lance in the game, I'd probably tone down Nova Nade by one cooldown, maybe make it 4 seconds.
We do have Heritage in lobby ready to go. We have a look at our loadouts for game number 2, and it's looking like, are we getting, yeah, the Nova is off for Heritage.
Yep. And that makes sense, bringing out that Cortex shield. It's definitely still not going to be easy to get around those health Novas with a Cortex shield, but definitely, you know, a shorter cooldown weapon, if nothing else. Also, I might be going crazy. I don't believe that Tim was running a Bounce Viper before, was he?
No, I think it was a Viper Ellipse.
Yeah.
I think he was running a Bounce Viper before. I mean, it's the build I practiced against, and he was practicing against that. So I could be wrong.
No, you're never wrong, Cap. The opening comes in here, and Tim does suffer a little bit from that Hammer Nade to the side. Trying to get things going with the Raptor Ellipse. That doesn't quite connect, and yeah, the Hurricane going to be a tool that they're trying to use to deploy in zone. Oh, and it actually connects to the back of Heritage. Big damn. I mean, this Hurricane, man, is a huge staple to these teams being effective. Their players.
Yeah, it has been a beast during these playoffs. And I mean, I think that we'll see a lot more play, especially after people watch these matches back and realize how much damage it truly does. But, you know, Heritage just really not even looking up and accidentally running right into these. Also deploying that shield to try and bait out the nade, but he kind of needed that for the Hurricanes, too.
Yeah, that's kind of the trouble of utilizing that shield elsewhere other than the designated purpose that you bring it to. But, you know, when you have things off cooldown, you just kind of reach and grab sometimes. You don't necessarily even potentially think about the loadouts and the respawns. And, oh, wow, what a great chip back and forth. They're both landing big blows. Almost even health here with 40 seconds left going into game number 2.
Ooh, okay. And, you know, despite Heritage having the lead, somehow I still feel like he's in trouble here.
Yeah, it's just a very different round, though, because Heritage has managed to chip back damage onto Tim. Tim's ran into a couple of Bounce Vipers off of the backside there, and it is just a much cleaner round here from Heritage. Tim deploys the Assault, though, and, yeah, Heritage, you know, you can see the head back, a sigh. Maybe not intending to stand up into those Novas, but either way, a great zoning bit from Tim to get them that final chunk of health to ultimately take a round. And off the gate, Tim's going to take a little bit of damage.
Yeah, and, you know, despite everything... Ooh, okay, landing a nice bounce shot there. Yeah, despite everything, you know, despite the lower damage of the Nova, I mean, we talk a lot about the Luma as a DPS weapon, and that also does 20 damage a hit, so... You know, there's a big difference between a 4-second weapon and a 7-second weapon, but at the same time, these Novas still provide are still a real risk to Heritage's health bar.
Trying to slide those curves in there. with that Viper ellipse and can't quite tag him onto Tim. And instead, Tim really doing a good job of chipping away the damage onto Heritage with that bullet spread. And oh, there's a bounce Viper that ends up connecting to the back of Heritage. It was only a matter of time before one of those came into effect. And it does set Tim up nicely for round 2. If they can push this together, they can find a couple of more bits of damage. They will take game 2. But what a great rebound there from Heritage to chip back onto Tim. A big connection, and Heritage right back into this one.
Yep, and those Hurricanes are coming down if he manages to dodge. Oh, the Hurricanes, I believe the Hurricanes.
Those Hurricanes, big elements in the success for Tim, but obviously a good bullet spread as well, and really perseverance, if anything, Cap. I mean, a solid bit of execution there from Tim, if I had to say so.
Well, Tim's been on players' top 10 lists for ages. He is a truly fantastic player. I mean, he's definitely considered a better player than me, and many other players. Like, again, top 10 staple. Heritage is asking to host. I don't understand this. Both players seem to want to host this, despite intercontinental latency issues. And Tim's agreed. So that's what's going to go into our next match. But Tim has been top 10 in LP, I think, for 12 seasons or 10 seasons. I forget which, in a row. I don't think anyone else has got the same level of consistency outside the top 3 players of JJ, 24, and Test.
Wow. Well, they're certainly putting it on display here. Maybe they just couldn't quite. I'm trying to remember who did they lose to in that first round?
You're very kind to bring that
themselves.
up.
Oh yeah, Captain Fabulous, the one that chips them down. So maybe this is all just a ploy for Cap to be tipping his own hat. He's hyping up Tim, and then we go back and we look. Oh, Cap! Wow, Cap! Impressive,
I don't think
performance.
anyone who plays a lot of Blaston would disagree with me. Tim. He's been a top contender for a long time.
Yeah, a good battle to say the least, and Tim certainly coming out here and putting on a strong performance. We are just waiting for that code, and we will be getting into our next lobby and potentially the final one if Heritage can't put something together.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about Tim a lot, but I'm a big fan of Heritage's play style just because it's very different. He's kind of, apart from Kuro, who I haven't seen play for a while, he's one of the players who really relies on nade for a lot of his damage output. Not quite as much as Kuro does, where he has 5 nades and maybe a snowball or Viper. But that play style of just trying to pop your opponent in a lot of close range nades to a lot of damage. Master 17 just called me out, so wow.
Yeah.
I'll see you next week.
Can't believe that. Yeah, and I guess that's my big question here, Cap, is, as far as using, and I don't know about you guys, but that code is not working for me. We talked, you just mentioned it. Heritage is one of those players who really, really likes to get the big pops on his opponent. And usually leaning very heavily into nades and then, juggling and sending them all out. Is a kind of not necessarily a common strategy, but it's usually how we see that build being played. What else can he do to be landing these nades a little bit more consistently? Because it seems like everything he throws at Tim is going off to the wayside either way.
Well, I think my answer is going to be fairly reminiscent of what I said before. He just needs to be throwing them when other stuff's attacking Tim as much. If you put more pressure by having more weapons putting pressure on at once, it's going to be harder for the opponent to dodge it. So it works against like low level skill players, but against a player like Tim, maybe have a hammery wave of bullets with a hurricane coming down, and then pop it. But Heritage has gone double Viper, switched off that strategy. So this is a different style, and maybe he thinks that putting the pressure on with Tim with double Vipers is to take him. And it is harder to dodge Vipers when you've got international latency.
Right. Right. And I also see your favorite weapon, that damage lance coming out from Tim. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays into the rest of his build as we get into round 1 here.
I talk a lot about how much I hate damage lance, but I was one of the first players to run it in VRML.
Ooh, and he's going to start right off by zapping Heritage right in the face with that laser, following it up with some Raptor ellipse shots. And already Heritage isn't looking too good. Ooh. Man, Tim making quick work of Heritage here.
Yeah, a big opener to set things up nicely for Tim. They're looking to take this thing in 3 games and 2 more rounds from here if they can do it. But Heritage does step up the dodge work, avoids that onslaught, and Tim setting into things up now for the Hurricane. There's the shield to deny those Hurricane threats. And, ooh, the Lance comes in, tags Heritage on the shoulder for a nice chunk there.
Yeah, and it's just so quick to, it's so quick to come online that by the time that Heritage even realizes he's taking damage, 10 has been taken off his health bar.
Adjust the scores as they were reversed.
Set point.
Yeah, yeah. This is set in series point here. 1 more round, and they take game 3 and move on through the losers bracket. Heritage gets eliminated and is out of contention for that prize pool that's now, I think, 1,400 in cash and hardware from HyperX and Blaston. You know, so definitely something to be competing there for. And on top of all that, obviously, the points that go into the championship series. So there really is a lot out there that these players are working for right now. And Tim can almost taste moving on to the losers bracket.
Yeah, yeah. The points, the prizes, but most of all the clout. That banner, priceless, truly.
Oh, a nice Raptor ellipse shot there, tagging Heritage, but Tim also takes a big chunk there. A nice Viper shot tagging on the shoulder. Still, though, a minute left. Plenty of time for Heritage to work with, and they very much need this round, or they are out of contention in the postseason. Their dreams of continuing their VRML Season 1 diminished and gone, but there still is time. 45 seconds. There's a big nade. One of those Hurricanes does tag Heritage on the head, and right now Tim has a nice solid lead.
Yeah. And Tim seems to be ducking and dodging out of everything that Heritage is throwing their way, including these nades. Oh, that was so close to being a perfect pop. Oh, but it's not going to be enough, sadly. And Tim is going to go ahead and take that set. Good games to both these two.
Let's take a final look at the current bracket, and it's where everyone stands here before we wrap things up here this afternoon. We're done with round 1, and we're done with round 2. 24 advances on to go up against Jay Josie in round 3 next weekend. Turbo goes up against Monty Ban in round 3 next weekend. And in our losers bracket, we have the illustrious Captain Fabulous going up against Master again next weekend. Losers round 2 all next weekend. Be sure to tune in Saturday, 10 a.m. PST, same time, same place for more of it. Flowed Peters, Bot, Arbo, and Kronster Tim all on the chopping block next weekend. You're not going to want to miss this action. It is going to be very exciting. Sunday's the finale of it all, where we get to crown ourselves one champion of the VRML Season 1 for Blaston. There is a lot of hype in the air right now, Jensen. I know that we're coming down off of a good weekend. Any final thoughts before we move on and get ready for what is the final weekend of the season?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking forward to these matches next week. I'm gonna leave all the weapon analysis and stuff to Cap at the very end of this. But yeah, I mean, I especially after that call out, Cap, I'm really excited to see you and Master 17. But you know, also looking out into who we might be seeing in losers round 3. The Kronster Tim Bot Arbo, that could really go either way, and I'd be very excited to see a Tim and Bot showdown, but also an Arbo Tim showdown, a Bot Kronster showdown, and then on the other end, of course, we've got both of our VRML admin that could potentially be going forward into facing each other in a losers round 3. So that would be quite amazing that not only do so many VRML folks manage to get into this bracket, but manage to get all the way to essentially the grand finals.
Yeah.
You do know that in my VRML predictions, I have both me and Slowey get to lose round 3, and I have him putting me out of VRML.
Okay.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
He's gonna throw the game just to get the good prediction, isn't he?
Oh God, no! I would give a lot to beat Slowey in a competitive game. When we scrim, when we play in queue, like it's fairly even. Sometimes like I win more, like way more than him. But just whenever the cameras are on, and the course. Got to be master before that happens though, so we don't want to count my just yet.
Well, we're going to sign off here on the desk. A big shout out to everyone that tuned in, whether you're on Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, or Horizon venues. We appreciate you participating and enjoying the action. Be sure to follow this channel as there is more VR esports here regularly throughout the weekends, every weekend. You do not want to miss it. You want to catch it all. There's plenty of very high-octane competitive action out there to be had. So do tune in for more when it happens. But obviously, Saturday is when we're coming back, 10 a.m. PST for our next set of games. So do stop by for next weekend. Until then, my name has been Nightfire with 2 E's. My co-casters, Dr. Oolong and Captain Fabulous. We will see you all next weekend.